to suspend our relevant rules for us to be able to take the motion. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Why do you want to suspend our rules? It is so urgent, so urgent, we don't even need to suspend. My point, I'm trying to emphasize the urgency of it. So, Honorable Luga.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Honorable colleagues, I rise to second the motion that we should take this as a public urgent matter. Also that we should set aside our rules to take it now. I so second, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Dear colleagues, the House recalls several recent nationwide media reports of gender-based violence against Nigerian women and girls. Worried about the disturbing growing spate of violence against women and girls recorded throughout the country, the House is concerned that the most common violence against women and girls are rape, sexual harassment, emotional and psychological violence, and socio-economic violence. The House is disturbed that women and the girl child are daily exposed to this gender-based violence in Nigeria with negligible statistics of convictions compared to the prevalence of the dastardly acts. Cognizant that the weak institutions, poor enforcement, poverty, and unacceptable social practices contribute to the ugly increase in violence against Nigerian women and girls. The House notes that findings show that an alarming 28% of Nigerian women aged between 25 to 29 years have experienced some form of physical violence against them, many of which remain unreported, were not prosecuted, or could not secure conviction. Further disturbed about the rising cases of police brutality across Nigeria, reports abound of unlawful activities of officers and men of the Nigerian police force for brutality, unprofessional shooting, harassment, unlawful detention, extortion, etc., and etc. Recalls that a few days ago, the media was awash with reports of gory cases of fatal violence against girls in Nigeria. This year, on Wednesday, 27th May, 2020, Ms. Uwa Omozua, age 22, a 100-level student of University of Benin, who went to study in a church hall, was found in a pool of blood after being raped and armed. She died soon afterwards. B. On the 28th of May, 2020, Ms. Tina Ezekwe, age 17, was shot and killed by two trigger-happy officers of the Nigerian police force in the most unprofessional manner at Oworoshoki in Lagos State. The police in Jigawa State on the 30th May 2020 arrested 11 men, including a 57-year-old man who lured and raped a 12-year-old minor. The House is concerned that a better government policy and legislative framework is required to stem the rising violence against women, as well as improve and support for women development. Further concerned that Nigeria lacks a strong national response to support victims and survivors of violence against women and girls. The House is determined to ensuring safety, equality, inclusion, and protection of the rights of women and girls in Nigeria. The House is accordingly resolved. 2.1. Urge the Inspector General of Police to immediately cause investigations into the cases of Uwa Omozua, Tina Ezekwe, the reported rape of minor in Jigawa State, as well as all other reported cases of violence against women, with a view to bringing the criminals to justice. Urge the federal government to launch a more effective campaign against rape and other violence against women and girls. Mandate all members to dress in black at the next sitting in solidarity against the death of Uwa Omozua, Tina Ezekwe, and other victims of rape and other further violence against women and girls in Nigeria.
What's going on?
Mandate all members to also dress in black at the next sitting in solidarity against the death of George Floyd and all other victims of racial discrimination and police brutality in the United States of America and the world at large. Mandate members to observe a minute's silence in honor of the death of Uwa Omozua, Tina Ezekwe, and all other girls and women who had died as a result of rape and police brutality. Mr. Speaker, dear colleagues, I so move.
Honorable colleagues, ordinarily, I'll give the floor to the, okay, it hasn't been seconded. Yes, we'll have one of our women seconded, Honorable Nkiruka.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I am Nkiruka George. I represent the good people of Isukwa Federal Constituency. I am from Abia State. I rise to second the motion as ably moved by Honorable Rotimi. I so second.
Honorable Agusoye, do you want to yield your time for, we need to take, you have already moved more or less and you've covered all the, so what we'll do, because this is such a, this acts of which you have talked about, this is such a sick, despicable, and ungodly act. Ordinarily, I'll allow the women to contribute, but because of the nature and the seriousness of it, and to show that it's not, the women's support is taken for granted, but it cuts across all gender. So you'll allow me to just give men the opportunity to contribute to this debate, because it is clear that there is no woman that will, just to show that this cuts across genders, we will allow one woman to speak, but we'll give 2-3 members of the opposite sex the opportunity to contribute. So we'll start with Honorable Chinedu.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. My name is Honorable Chinedu Benjamin Obidigwe, Anambra East and West Federal Constituency, Anambra State. Mr. Speaker, this very motion is very urgent indeed, owing to the facts surrounding us here in Nigeria. All we do witness day in, day out is rape, prostitution, child trafficking, especially as it concerns women. Mr. Speaker, it is no longer a news that even the Nigerian women are, I will say, they are kind of prey in the hand of traffickers to abroad We have witnessed on social media sometime when a Nigerian woman was put on sale, for sale, by a Lebanese. We are talking about here in Nigeria, what of outside Nigeria? Mr. Speaker, on daily basis, women in this country have been faced with a lot of assault. I am speaking this way because my own mother is a woman. And I know.
What do you say? Your mother is what? A woman.
Mr. Speaker, protect me. All of us were born by women. All of us were born by women. And injury to one is injury to all. Mr. Speaker, if we cannot protect the women, it implies that the future of this country is blinking. Because they are the future. They are those who can guarantee they train the children. If it is in terms of communal crisis, women are being hit more than any other person. Mr. Speaker, we have a lot of laws in Nigeria against child trafficking. We have also laws in Nigeria against assault. Mr. Speaker, all that is needed, my own suggestion, is that these laws needed to be strengthened such that the right of women must be protected in the country. And their right is being trampled upon at all instances. Even in politics, women have been agitating for 35%. Most of the times, you look around, you notice that even political parties doesn't observe it. Mr. Speaker, in general terms, the rights of women are being violated all over, and we need to help. This House, our chamber, need to come up with a very stringent measure to protect the rights of women in Nigeria. Thank you.
Who's that? Honorable Larry. Okay, Honorable Larry.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I remain Honorable Edwin Olaiwaju, representing all the people of the South Federal Constituency. I'm from the state known to be the gateway state to Nigeria. I'm from Ogun State. Mr. Speaker, the subject of discourse this morning is rape. And what is rape? It's something done without the consent of the partner. Today, we are having a discourse because it affected ladies all over the country. Rape will now be turned to something that will become something that is affecting other sex partners in future if something is not done correctly now. Mr. Speaker, men are being molested as well as ladies are being molested. We must come to a conclusion in this House so that we pass a law that will make rape to be more punitive right now if something is not done by this House. Mr. Speaker, the gargantuan effect of rape goes beyond just coming here and letting members to contribute or anything. I think this House should come to a conclusion whereby we are going to make rape punishable by life imprisonment or by death. Mr. Speaker, we can decide here and now by this House that rape will be punitive not only through investigation by police, but it has to be by capital punishment. If it's not done that way, rape will still continue to be done by anybody in the country. I want to submit that this House should come to a conclusion that if anybody is caught by an act of rape, it should be done through capital punishment and nothing but capital punishment. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Ikiruka. Because you had a motion similar on that of Tina. So we'll just allow you to manage that, just contribute briefly. Since we cannot take your motion, since he has covered that issue.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I am Kiruka Onyegacha. I represent the good people of the Sukwatu Federal Constituency. Mr. Speaker, I am from Abia State. Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, I have a motion on this matter, but having moved by my brother, I am also excited that our men here are responsible enough to support us to fight against these incidences of victimization, brutalization, and all stigmatization of this kind of thing. Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, we can recall that on 12th May 2020, we moved a motion on the floor of this House, directing the security agencies to investigate and fish out people who are their employees, who are killing people recklessly, needlessly. 2 weeks after that, precisely on Tuesday, 26th of May, around 10:45 p.m., ASP Flop Otobo from Bariga Police Division reportedly shot and killed 16-year-old Tina Ezebeth in the Yano area of Lagos State. Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, and the reason is that he was drunk. Another reason they will give you that, insanity, all sorts of things. But the truth is that somebody's life is cut short. Somebody is dead. Mr. Speaker, it's hard. We need to find out why is this thing occurring. And then my research I come up with one simple reason. The system is weak. To the extent that these people kill people, we do not know what happened to them thereafter. Police will tell you that they dismiss them somewhere, but that's not the point. Somebody is who killed by sword shall die by sword. And not just that. If you count numbers, it's going to be hundreds of people being killed by security agencies. The question is, who has been prosecuted? Who has died? Where are they? Can we begin to know the end of these investigations? We need to know the outcome of the investigations. And let me even ask you, what are we investigating? You see somebody killed? The investigation shouldn't take more than 2 weeks, for God's sake. Like what happened in America last week. By yesterday, they've been charged. Our own is that we'll be investigating. To the extent that sometimes you approach these security agencies, they will ask you for mobilization money. Like the one that happened in Edo. They raped a girl, killed that lady, and when they went to report to police, they were asking them to give them mobilization money, for God's sake, so that they would go and start looking for the killers. Yesterday again, a girl was, 19-year-old girl, was raped and killed. By this morning, we have not seen any strong statement from the IG of police to say that enough is enough. So I'm standing on this floor of the House to say that we are pained that our women are being raped. It's not even about girls. These people rape 70-year-old person. 80-year-old person is not even excluded. They can rape 2-month-old baby,
and they are not prosecuting them, they are not jailing them, they are not even killing them. So, Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, this thing is not issue about what they will ask you. Why did you go there? Why did you dress like that? Making the victims become the accused. So the system is weak and the system should be strengthened.
Honorable Tolu, approach the chief whip.
So we must begin to strengthen our institutions to make sure that people who are victims are not turned to be accused. Because I've seen many girls, when they rape them, they will not say, because the system is not going to support them. Some persons will even want to rape them three times, more than the one that they were crying. And so if you check this thing, they don't even report. We have about 70% unreported cases. But these ones that have been done in broad daylight, and these victims, not just rape, they are killed. This is not second degree or 100-degree murder. This is murder plus. And so they should begin to prosecute these people. Let's see that they are dying. Let's see that these people are being extinguished, that the way they are extinguishing people. So, Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, I thank you for yielding this floor to me, and I believe that every member will support this. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues. My name is Shehu Koko. I speak for the people of Koko, Besi, and Myanmar Federal Constituency. Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, I'm from Kebbi State. Mr. Speaker, sir, I rise to add my voice into this very important motion raised by Honorable Rotimi. But, sir, there are fundamental issues that we need to understand in this issue generally. One, sir, all our laws, from the penal code and the criminal procedural code, the punishment is there. Everybody knows the punishment of a rape case is purely life in prison. It's a capital offense, just like armed robbery. But, sir, where the problem lies? The problem lies from the investigations by the police officers. Rape is the only case that's going to be, there's only investigated case by the police who are lacking many things, even the skills, because there are ways. To prove a case of rape, you need a medical doctor, because if there's no report from the medical doctor, any court of law in this law will not give judgment for a case of rape. Even the police officers, they are doing the case. Some, they don't even know where to start. The big things, the people that are victims, to report, more especially in the north, Mr. Speaker, sir, fear of stigmatization, they will not report. I left the police and I reported many cases. At the end of the day, they were begged, more especially in the north. You see a family, you come and beg, please, we don't even need this case. We don't even like the case, you allowed it to go. Sir, orientation. The patterns of the police, they are doing the case. The prosecutors, the doctors, and every other Nigerian needs to rise, to stand up, to give awareness against the case of rape. If not, sir, it will not end. I'm sorry to use this word. We need to do something. In the parliament, sir, like I've said, the punishment is there. Everybody knows it's life in prison. But the problem, where do we prove these cases? In the court of law, or even from the investigation, sir. Sir, I want to urge this honorable house, sir, to call the Inspector General of Police to create units from the first CID down to the police station, to create units headed by women police. We have many. They should institute a unit of rape or investigative of cases of rape, and they should be trained so that these things would be sought out to the letter. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity.
Okay, so we can move rapidly on. We'll only take 2-3 more on this issue. We are taking so many confusions only because of the importance. We'll take 2-3 more so we can move on, and because we need to get out of here early. We'll take the one from it. We'll take Minority Leader. I think maybe we should allow members to speak. There's so many of them. Please, let's allow members. I know you had the same similar motion, but because of the, we'll take one from here and 2 from the left column, and then we'll move on. And can the women please drop their hands, please? It's not a woman's motion. Let the women, let us show that men are in support of this. Please, let the women drop their hands. Let me look at the most hard-looking man here. Doctor. If you just put your hand up now, it's late now. Doctor. Honorable Linda, you're a woman. You have been bad from this debate. No.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues. Thank you for yielding the floor to me. I am protected, please. My name is Henry Achibo. I represent the people of Itu Federal Constituency in Akwa Ibom State. Mr. Speaker, I totally align myself to the previous speakers on this issue of rape. Inasmuch I support the fact that laws have to be made to curb this menace in the Nigerian society, I also believe that law alone is not going to be able to solve this issue. Because we have cases where laws are made for criminality like armed robbery, and people still go around and steal. There must be a fundamental issue that is leading to this rape. I believe that this mirrors the moral decadence in the society, generally. The families have failed, the religious bodies have failed, the school system has failed right from the primary school system. Now, we know that because of the economy of the country, parents don't spend time with their kids anymore. And that is supposed to be a foundation where children are trained, where boys are trained. Now, if this foundation is faulty, there is no way we can build on a faulty foundation. Unfortunately, too, sexual development has stages. According to Sigmund Freud, has about 5 stages. And where children are not properly developed across those stages, they are bound to have failure when they grow up, and they begin to be psychologically deranged. I want to tell this house that rape is a kind of psychosocial malfunction as far as the persons are concerned. We also have to look at the things that facilitate people getting or being raped. Like I said, I totally support any punitive measures for people that actually go around raping people. But there's a saying in my place that says, when you are addressing the hawk, you also have to address the chicken. Mr. Speaker, the way our girls, the way our women dress these days is so terrible.
Yeah, Honorable Mongonu, what's your point of order? Just point of order. Sorry, Honorable Mongonu has a point of order. What's your point of order?
Mr. Speaker, honorable members, my name is Mohammed.
Point of order.
I have a point of order, Mr. Speaker.
What's your point of order? Just say it.
The honored member that is contributing is not properly dressed. As you can see, he doesn't have a tie. Based on our dressing code, he's supposed to have a tie. The honored member that just contributed, doctor, he's not properly dressed. So he is naked before in the eyes of the house. He's not
Actually, I have just noticed I actually should not have recognized you. You're actually not supposed to be in the chambers. Look at the rules properly. If you don't understand our code of mode of dressing, please, honorable members, discuss with the chief whip. He is very correct, Dr. Achibong. You're here without a tie. And this is a very honorable house, a very distinguished house. And so that's the end of your contribution. Who's at the back there? Honorable colleagues that are women, and let me repeat, allow us to champion this cause for you. Allow us to champion. Let the men champion this cause for you. Okay, we'll take Honorable Kabir and then you.
Honorable Gudaje, approach the chief whip. Approach the chief whip, Honorable Gudaje.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I am Kabir Ibrahim Tukura, and I represent the people of Zuru, Fakai, Dunko, Sogo, and Sakaba Federal Constituency of Kebbi State. Mr. Speaker, this is a very sensitive issue. The past few days, our social media timelines have been inundated with very gory stories of rapes. Most of these cases perpetuated by close relatives and associates of the families. You see where cases of rapes being carried out by uncles, cousins, family friends, stepfathers, and what have you. So this brings us to a very fundamental issue. Our community structures have been broken down, and thus there's a need for a value reorientation. If as a country or as a people, a close family friend or close relative will rape a child, I don't know where we're headed. So this needs to be inculcated in our curriculums in schools. Every day you hear people talk to girls, protect yourselves, stay in your lane, but nobody talks to the boy child. Nobody tells the boy child, you need to respect the women. You need to respect the girls around you. You don't do things or touch girls inappropriately. Nobody tells the boy child that. And that is a fundamental issue. That is one place we need to start, one thing we need to start doing. If we also, as much as we educate the girls to stay on their own, we need to let the boys know that they need to respect the women. Because these rapes are perpetrated by young men and if some in their old ages. So if that is achieved, we need to also bring stiff penalties. Penalties like capital punishment, penalties like castration, penalties like amputation of the manhood. If you can stoop low to rape a child, I don't think you deserve to have a manhood. You don't deserve it. Because it controls you, you don't control it. And as a man, if you can't control your manhood, you don't deserve to have it. Huh? Yes, you don't. You don't deserve to have it. So, Mr. Speaker, as a House, we should propose laws that are stiff and that would bring this to order. In the eyes of God, this is a very, very grievous offense. Like I said, any man who rapes a child or who rapes a woman does not deserve a manhood. No means no, and we should totally condemn this. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I am Honorable Suleiman Abubakar Gumi from Zamfara State, representing the good people of Gumi Buku in Federal Constituency. This is a very, very, very important topic. I have been on the front line fighting the cause of women in terms of rape and domestic violence. Now, the issue we've been facing over the years is basically stigmatization that the women face when they are raped. Lack of confidentiality for raped women. Now we've taken so many culprits to court, but because of the pressure from communities and the stigma that follows the women, they are forced to withdraw their cases from court. And because men that do rape get away free, they tend to perpetrate the same case. And if nobody is being punished, then the same offense will be occurring over and over again. I will never have a solution. Now, we can sit down here and legislate on this topic. If the state legislators don't adopt what we pass here, this issue will continue to foster. Now, we need to take a very holistic dimension where you invite all stakeholders. One, state legislators. Secondly, the judicial system, the judiciary, police, the police that cases are being reported to. Most of these cases are there at the police station because women will go there and report, and the questions that will be coming from the policemen is, what took you there? What did you wear over there? Silly questions. The issue of rape will be put to the background. And women are being forced to withdraw their cases because of the fear of being stigmatized. Now, in communities, we've heard women say, is it only your child that was raped? So why are you making too much noise? Now, this is what is happening. So if people are not being punished, how on earth can we stop this rape issue? Now, we can pass a legislation to say rape victims must be protected. That is very key. We don't put, when a woman is raped, she should not be put on trial again. She should be protected, and the culprit should be the one to be punished. And if we look in that direction, the next thing is bring police, bring judiciaries, put a round table and talk with them. Let's come together and bring out a holistic solution. Like one, we need to open a register for rape victims, for rapists. And that register should be out there for everyone to know. So and so person in so community, there's a rapist. Parents should be careful with such a person. Apart from that, the other punishment, name and shame. Issues like public trial for rapists, not the raped women. So I think if we can't just decide here, because it will only affect FCT if we pass this law here. But we need to bring the state legislators, the judiciary and the rest, so that we can have a holistic solution to this problem. I so submit.
Thank you. Is Honorable Lado Suleja, are you here? Please see me later. Honorable Lado Suleja, please see me later. Honorable colleagues, we'll round up, we'll take a few amendments, but let me just very quickly say the committees on Women Affairs, Justice and Human Rights have a lot of work to do on this issue, this perversion that is before us, which will include definition and the elements of rape and all these things. We need to look into our laws and the punishments. So we'll just take some. You have a point of order, Honorable Linda. What's the point of order? Yeah. Section what?
Section 39(1). If I may read with your kind permission, Mr. Speaker, it says, every person shall be entitled to freedom of expression, including freedom to hold opinions and to receive and impart ideas and information without interference. Mr. Speaker, I have the right to express my opinion. I understand the reasoning behind your ruling that the men who are supposed to be culprits, that they should speak and support. But it doesn't mean that I can also not give my own opinion, Mr. Speaker.
Okay, you're right. If we are to interpret our Constitution in that way, then if 359 members have their hands up, then I am under constitutional obligation to recognize all 359 members. But Honorable Linda, read, what does your Constitution tell you about formation of our rules? Read the portion of the Constitution that talks about our rules and the powers of the House to set up its own rules.
The Constitution gives us the right to make rules to govern us. At the same time, Mr. Speaker, just like any piece of legislation, anyone that is against any part of the Constitution becomes null and void. So, Mr. Speaker, in as much as we are 360 members in this House, that Section 39 can only kick in if any member chooses to take or to rely on that particular provision. It's just like right. Your right ends where my right begins. So it doesn't necessarily mean, Mr. Speaker, that every member should speak just because of Section 39 of the Constitution. It just means that if you choose to rely on that particular section, then you are protected by it, Mr. Speaker.
Okay, so our rules allow us to formulate, or the Constitution rather allows us to formulate our rules. Now, what does our rules? What does it say about speaking on the floor?
If the Speaker gives leave.
So you are saying that that rule is unconstitutional?
I'm saying that in this particular instance, where I'm being denied my right to express my opinion in such an important matter, I am a woman, and because we want the men to support us, doesn't mean that we should be denied the right to speak.
So I'm going back to your logic. You know I enjoy this kind of thing. I'm going back to your logic. So therefore, it is not impossible, it is not against the realm of possibility that every single member here will raise his hand. And going by your logic, if they insist on speaking, I must call every single member on every issue that they raise up their hand. That cannot be the intention. You see, when you interpret the Constitution, I'm giving you the basic 101 on rules of interpretation. When you interpret the Constitution, there's something called the armchair rule. You sit down and you look at the intention behind the provision. You are ruled out of order. Honorable Gadaji wants to speak, but I cannot recognize you. But if I was to follow his argument, I must recognize you. So, but I'm not following. I've overruled that, so put your hand down. Let's go to the amendments. Honorable Linda, do you have an amendment?
Yes, Mr. Speaker, I have an amendment. Yes, Mr. Speaker, thank you very much for yielding the floor to me to make an amendment. Mr. Speaker, one of the prayers is that the NOA should embark on sensitization program. What we have in this country right now is that people don't even grasp that rape is a violent act. It has become the new normal in Nigeria. For people to have, for incest is the new normal in Nigeria. Rape is the new normal in Nigeria. People don't understand that it's a violent act. So the NOA on a sensitization program for people to understand. And then women should not be ashamed. They should come up and speak. They should come out and speak when their rights are being violated.
Your amendment is that women should come out and speak.
Just embellishing my amendment because women are ashamed. The way they...
I'm enjoying your contribution to the debate. It's an opportunity. It was a roundabout through the back door. But continue and then land with your amendment.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. You are such a kind speaker. Mr. Speaker, women are ashamed in this country. Women are treated as chattels. And what do you do to a chattel? You use the chattel and you dispose of the chattel. That is the attitude of the average Nigerian man towards women. And that is why women are treated as trash. That has to stop. You rape women, you have families, where men sleep with their daughters. You have the incest is at the highest rate in this country right now, and it's normal. No, nobody's very close to me. Nobody's very close to me, and it's because you guys know I'm the mass woman. Because you guys know, Mr. Speaker, why I really insisted on making this amendment with your kind permission.
Honorable colleagues, it's a very long amendment. Relax. It's very long.
Thank you, Speaker, for your protection. The amendment needs to be embellished, and I thank you for giving me that privilege. Mr. Speaker, studies have shown that rape is not even a sexual crime per se. It's a violent act. And the violence perpetrated against women in this country has to stop. Let me talk about Nigeria first. Mr. Speaker, you have rape, you have cases of rape, you have cases of incest, and when you call the police, they keep investigating. It takes forever to investigate. Definitely, there are requirements to prove rape. We all know that. But like this Uwa lady, it's a murder, rape and murder. The police has to be made to work. They must take it seriously. That was why I started talking about the attitude of men. If you have the attitude that somebody is a chattel, that what happens to that person actually cannot come up on the importance parameter. So I'm pleading, I'm urging that the police must start doing their work. When they investigate, it cannot take a year to investigate murder. It cannot take a year to investigate rape. So they must be serious about it. So my amendment, Mr. Speaker, is that the NOA, because this has a lot to do with attitude, must embark on enlightenment program for people to understand the violence, the rape, what it means, what it does to women, what it does to people. Because these people are human beings. Mr. Speaker, that's my amendment. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Linda. Indeed, rape is actually a death sentence for a lot of women. You take away their lives for life, so it goes beyond rape. Any seconder to that very long amendment. Princess.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues. My name is Honorable Princess Miriam Odinaka Onoha. I represent the people of Isi Alambano, honoring of Okiwe Federal Constituency. I am from Imo State. I rise to second this amendment as succinctly put by Honorable Linda. I so second.
Those in support, please say aye. Those against, please say nay. Honorable Chiri says nay. What was the amendment? You don't know the amendment, but you said nay. Okay, the ayes have it. Honorable Faleke, please read your amendment and make it loud and clear for everybody to hear. Honorable Faleke, what's your amendment?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues. My name is James Abiodun Faleke. I represent Ikeja Federal Constituency. Mr. Speaker, my amendment is that all men engaged in raping minors should be castrated and jailed. That's my amendment.
You want a second?
Yeah.
Go ahead, Honorable Sejus.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My highly esteemed colleagues, I'm Sejus Ose Ogun. I rise to second the motion. The amendment ably moved by Honorable Faleke. I so second.
You know what's interesting about this? What's interesting about this is that in the rare event that a woman rapes a minor, what do you do to the woman? please say aye. Those against, please say nay. The nays have it. Honorable Jah, Ahmed Jah. Point of order, Mr. Speaker. Hold on, Honorable Jah. Honorable Toby has a point of order. Honorable Toby, what's your point of order? No, the nays carried the day. Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, my name is Toby Kechibu. I represent an area of Wodiri Federal Constituency from Enugu State. Mr. Speaker, I come under Order 9 regarding rules of debate. Order 9 Rule 4 combined reading of 8 and 9. Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues. Page 43. Are you with me?
Honorable Nasiru.
Can I go ahead? Mr. Speaker, this is the standing orders of the House of Representatives. And under Order 9, Rule 4, sub 8 and 9, it says, when a member is speaking, no member may converse aloud or make any noise or disturbance to interrupt him. It says also in sub 9, during a sitting, all members shall be silent or shall confer only in undertones. Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, even as I was raising this point of order, you can observe that this section of our standing orders is being continually and severally observed in breach. I think it will be prudent as a parliament that once we have set our rules, we should be able to observe them. Mr. Faleke here could not hear what the ruling of the speaker was. And it was evident that it was because members were making a lot of noise. So I think that when members are contributing, or when the speaker is ruling, we should all be silent as dictated by our rules. I so move.
Thank you, Honorable Toby. I quite agree with you wholeheartedly. Members, please, and we've said this severally, when somebody is speaking on the floor or we're debating, it must be solemn. We call this the hallowed chambers. That's what we call it, the hallowed chambers. And let us make it hallowed. Let us respect each other. Let us respect those who have sent us here to represent them. We cannot be debating issues that are important. And what's important to you may not be important to another person. What's important to another constituency may not be important to you. But we must give each other that respect and respect our rules and be quiet, and silent. We have people who are in the gallery. Students come, people come all the time. It does not speak well when we're debating and the place is like a marketplace and rowdy. So please, let's observe our rules both in spirit and to the letter. Honorable Toby, your point of order is sustained. Prof, you have a point of order. Don't, it has expired, okay. Prof said he wanted to speak, not a point of order. Well, I guess with time and experience, you will understand that what I did was to open the door for you to speak. But anyway, no problem. Honorable Elumelu.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I remain Honorable Ndudiko Elumelu, and I represent the good people of Anocho Shimilifera constituency. Mr. Speaker, in line with the point of order earlier raised by Deputy Minority Leader, it now means that the initial ruling that you did, that most members did not even understand where you put the question, because the issue borders on minor, raping of minors. And because they did not even hear when you were putting the question, some of them shouted nay. It would be nice that that motion is repeated and let them know that what we are talking about, rescind it and let it be repeated, because what we are talking about is about raping minors. Raping minors, for members to say nay, which in effect means, are we saying that we are supporting the raping of minors? That is the implication. So,
Honorable Mogonu.
I think the voting of the House with regard to that issue is in order, and the ruling of the Speaker is in order. Already under the Penal Code and Criminal Code, rape has been defined as having carnal knowledge without consent and against her will. That is the definition of rape. And that's without her consent and against her will. In case of a minor, you will have a carnal knowledge of her without consent, but against her will.
Wait, honorable colleagues. I think we need to get it straight. Rape, there's definition of rape, but there's also something called statutory rape. Statutory rape is when you rape a minor. In other words, consent or no consent. You cannot have carnal knowledge or sexual intercourse with somebody who's underage, whether even with their consent. But the question, the motion by Honorable Faleke is about the punishment that will be attached to, in addition, that will be attached to the rape of a minor, which is already an offense. But what is the punishment? He is now adding a punishment that if you are found guilty of raping a minor, not raping anybody, raping a minor, that the law should be amended for the punishment to include castration. So it depends on the House which way they want to go. I don't know if let's allow Honorable Elumelu to move for a rescission, and then if the House allows it, if the House allows for the rescission, because we've already made a decision. So move for your rescission.
and I represent the good people of Anocho Federal Constituency. I'm from Delta State. I move that we rescind our earlier decision as it relates to the amendment that was proposed by Honorable Faleke. I so move.
Honorable Osai. Honorable Osai, you are not on your seat. Let me recognize somebody else. Oh, it's free sitting. Since when? Go ahead.
I rise to second the motion as moved by the minority leader. I still second, Mr. Speaker.
Those in support of the motion for rescission, please say aye. Those against, please say nay. The nays have it. This does not preclude anybody from bringing an amendment which will be subjected to vote here too. Honorable Jaha was on the floor trying to move an, if I could. Honorable Jaha. I had already recognized Honorable Ahmed Jaha. Go ahead.
Honorable Speaker, honorable colleagues, Ahmed Jaha is my name, and I represent Chibok, Dambua, and Goza Federal Constituency. I'm from Borno State. My amendments are: state government should domesticate 1, Child Right Act, 2, Violence Against Persons Act, VAPP, 3, Anti-Rape Law, Mr. Speaker, my amendments are: state government should domesticate Child Right Act, Violence Against Persons Act, which is VAPP.
Honorable Toby, do you want to raise your point of order again?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Honorable colleagues. Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues. Mr. Speaker, you can see that my allegation or my observation of continuous breach of the House rules.
House Leader, you are breaking the House rules. Please listen to Honorable Toby.
Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues.
Honorable Maki, Honorable Baba Yali, resume your seats.
Under rules of debate, order 9, section 4, it says that when a member is speaking, no member may converse aloud or make any noise or disturbance to interrupt him. Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, we have continued to witness interruptions, and even when our rule says that members should sit on their seat in silence, we are continuously moving around. Mr. Speaker, this violent and continuous breach of the standing orders of the House does not give us the proper standing.
So, who's standing there back in the chair?
Mr. Speaker, our rule further says, under section 4, sub 4, members shall not cross the floor of the House unnecessarily or sit in a place allotted to another member. Mr. Speaker, you can see that this continues to happen every day. I will move, Mr. Speaker, that there should be a proper tutorial for members to bring them up to speed on what rules they have set for themselves. But at the interim, they should please respect the hallowed chambers and observe it today. Thank you very much.
Honorable colleagues, this is the second time Honorable Toby is moving this point of order, is raising this point of order in under 10 minutes. Not only does it affect every single member who is actually interested in listening to debates, who is actually interested in coming to do what has been asked to come and do here. Who's that standing there? But it also affects even me as the presiding officer, because the debate that is going on. So, in addition to what you've said, Honorable Toby, about proper tutorial and strict observance of our rules, I think moving forward, without even saying anything, I will have a list and I will continue. Anybody I see walking around and talking and disturbing others, I'll just have your name on a piece of paper next to me, and you will not be recognized to talk on any issue. Because whilst you want yourself to be listened to and you want to talk, you are disturbing others who are contributing to the debate. It's just wrong. It's unparliamentary. We've all been to parliaments all over the world. We all want to be an advanced democracy. Then let's practice it and act accordingly. Honorable Jaha was moving an amendment, and they're important amendments. I'm sure beyond his neighbor, I don't know if anybody else can tell me exactly the amendment he was moving. And yet we will put the question. So, Honorable, your point of order is sustained once again. Be finished with your, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues. Ahmed Jaha Baba is my name, and I represent the amiable, internally displaced, not yet recovered Chibok girls, Damboa and Goza Federal Constituency. Mr. Speaker, my amendments are: 1. State governments should domesticate Child Right Act, Violence Against Persons Act, popularly known as VAPP, and anti-rape law, and applied maximum penalty of death or life imprisonment. My second amendment is that women should cultivate the habit of dressing properly and decently to avoid unnecessary harassment and abuse by men, because men are not wood. Thank you.
Men are not wood. I think, honorable colleagues, I think honestly, sometimes in chambers, we throw in things just to make the mood lighter. I think Honorable Jaha was just trying to. So we'll take a seconder to the first leg of the motion, which is the domestication of the Child Rights Act, Violence Against Persons Act, and anti-rape law. Honorable Chris.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. My respected colleagues, my name is Honorable Chris Emeka Azubogo. I represent Nnewi North, Nnewi South, and the Procedural constituency. Mr. Speaker, I stand to second the amendment, the first leg of the amendment, as proposed by my colleague, as so second.
Okay, we'll come to the second one, but just to be clear, this is the first leg of the amendment about domestication. So we don't mix it up. Those in favor, please say aye. Those against, please say nay. Aye, shall we? Honorable Jaha, do you want to go ahead with the second leg? You said, even for what I'm saying here, you said, man may be wood or something. Is that what you said? Go ahead.
The second amendment is: women should cultivate the habit of dressing properly and decently to avoid unnecessary harassment and abuse by men. This is my second amendment.
Any seconder? Honorable second. Honorable Ningi.
Kill it now. Right Honorable Speaker, respected colleagues, my name is Abdullah Isaad Abdulkadir. I represent Ningi Warji Federal Constituency of Bauchi State. I rise before this Honorable House to second the second leg of the amendment as moved by Honorable Jaha. I so second.
Those against, please say nay. The nays have it. Honorable Coco.
Okay. No, I have it, sir. I have two amendments, sir. My name is Honorable Shehu Koko, sir. I represent the good people of Koko, Besi, and Moyama Federal Constituency. Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, I'm from Kebbi State. Sir, my amendments are two. The first leg of it is the House should urge the IGP to create or to have a unit from all police formations and mandate women police to investigate rape cases. And that unit should be properly equipped. That's the first amendment. The second amendment, sir, is the NOA. It was taken by Honorable Linda, that there should be an awareness, mostly in the northern part of the country, in reporting cases of rape. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Your second leg of your amendment has already been taken by Honorable Linda. So we'll go to the first amendment. That is that the House should urge the Inspector General of Police to set up units in all police formations for the investigation of rape cases throughout the country and equip the units. Seconder, Honorable Kiruka. Okay, Honorable Mark is there.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I am Kiruka Onyejocha. I represent the good people of the Isukwatu Federal Constituency. I am from Abia State. I rise to second the motion as moved by Honorable Koko. I so second.
Those in favor, please say aye. Those against, please say nay. The ayes have it. Honorable Tolu Shadipe.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to speak on an amendment. My name is Honorable Tolu Akonde Shadipe, representing Oluyole Federal Constituency in Oyo State.
My name, can you hear me? My name is Honorable Tolu Akonde Shadipe, representing Oluyole Federal Constituency in Oyo State.
Okay, I have two amendments. One, police must be made held culpable if any officer is involved in ridiculing or intimidating a rape victim. He must be charged alongside the rapist. And I also concur that there should be capital punishment, and also advocate for the investment of test kits for rape.
Honorable Shadipe, I think that's like 4 amendments rolled into one. I think it's better you separate them so that we can vote on them, because you've talked about something, and then you talked about capital punishment as another amendment. You talked about. Otherwise, if they go against one, they will go against all. I'm just trying to help you. So take it one, and then maybe for now, just remove your, because we can't hear you. Yes. Yes.
Okay. So basically, like that, been directed by Mr. Speaker, I would split it. I would take the one on officers. Officers should be held culpable. Should they be known to have intimidated or victimized or raped victims, such that it affects the outcome of the case? Such officers should be charged along with the rapist. It will deter members of the police force from this action, which we know is already common.
You cannot charge somebody for intimidating, you cannot charge him for rape. I think that's already in our laws under obstruction of justice. There's already a charge for obstruction of justice. If you are obstructing justice, I don't think you can hold that person culpable of rape, unless he does something to which will be accessory after the fact. Yes. Okay.
I'm not be talking about rape. I'm not talking about our girls in Lebanon who have been trafficked to Lebanon as domestic staff, but continue to be raped by the men in those households. There's a recent case where there was a rescue flight leaving
leaving Lebanon 2 or 3 weeks ago, and 10 of our girls were not allowed to board that flight. They were already at the airport, under the guise that they were slaves to their masters, and that they had offended their masters, and therefore, we do not know as of today where these girls are. I therefore wish to add this to the current motion, such that the Minister of External Affairs can take the matter very seriously and call the Ambassador of Lebanon to order on the matter, because on the media, the Ambassador to Lebanon is claiming that there's a labor pact between Lebanon and Nigeria, and there's no such labor pact.
I think it's better you come back with a standalone motion on that. It's a very important issue, but let's not dilute it with this, because if we're talking about rape, simply rape, it's not a rape issue, which that has not been established, and we cannot enforce crimes abroad. But it's a very, very important motion that I think deserves to be on its own. So we just put the question to the first leg of the motion, which is to make officers culpable who are accessories after the, even though that is seconded. Honorable Linda, do you want to second it?
Yeah, second the amendment as moved by my sister, so second.
Those in favor, please say aye. Those against, please say nay. Ayes have it. Wow, this motion is so important. It has taken 2 hours of our time. Honorable Oluga.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My name is Taiwo Oluga. I represent all the people of Irewole Federal Constituency. Mr. Speaker, I'm from Osun State. My amendment simply is that since we know that rape is any penetration, just little penetration, Mr. Speaker, that is what rape is. We cannot shy away from that. And it is becoming too alarming, and it is worrisome. And we don't know who next. In fact, I was discussing with some people before you came in that it is more of a ritual these days. Because when they rape them,
Just to make this point, because it's difficult to hear. Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I said rape is simply little penetration into a lady's vagina. Just little. Go and check. That is the definition. We cannot shy away from that. And we cannot stand here and the level at which it's alarming, Mr. Speaker. As at yesterday, we still have cases. All over we have cases. And I think it is high time that we approach it, that if we go about it, if you look at it now, Mr. Speaker, you will see that it is more of ritual. Because when they rape them, the lady or the girl, she's not even living to testify. Forget about stigmatization. She's not living to testify. Who is going to testify?
Yeah, so what's your amendment?
Yes, my amendment, thank you, Mr. Speaker, that the House, the leadership of the House of Representatives, declare a state of emergency. Yeah, excuse me, declare a state of emergency on sexual and gender-based violence in Nigeria. The House declare a state of emergency. Oh, yeah, because, Mr. Speaker, unless we go through legislative, you ask me, what do I mean? There's no way we can be saying that there is law. They should domesticate. If we are not approaching it in a legislative way, Mr. Speaker, it is high time. We don't know who next. We don't know whose daughter's next. We don't know whose mom's next. We don't know who legislators next. I so submit.
The state of emergency entail? So that we be clear.
of emergency by this House will send one right signal to the people out there that we are here to make laws, to keep peace, to keep the security. We should not forget that we are arm of government, and we are here, any arm of government, the primary assignment is to make law for the security, sir, and well-being of our citizens, of our constituents. So this House will be doing well and good by declaring state of emergency to them, by sending right signal that we are here for them. Secondly, Mr. Speaker, all the policy that have been in place, the 14-year imprisonment, Mr. Speaker, I want to put it to you that since inception of democracy and since we have been hearing rape, how many can we say we have gotten that they have convicted, tried and convicted? This we have to follow legislatively. That's just the...
Okay. Honorable Ifeanyi, do you want to second?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues. My name is Honorable Ifeanyi Chudimoma. I represent the people of Ihiala, Federal Constituency. I rise to second the amendment moved by Honorable Oluga on the state of emergency to be declared. I so second.
Those in favor, please say aye. Those against, please say nay. The ayes have it. Honorable, let's move as quickly as possible because we have a very important motion after this and then we close. It's on security. We need to move very rapidly. Honorable Jimmy Benson.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I remain Baba Jimmy Benson, Ikorodu Federal Constituency, Lagos. Mr. Speaker, proving rape is very, very difficult. Proving rape is very difficult. It's one of the most difficult crimes to prove. Accordingly, Mr. Speaker, I recommend that my amendment is thus, that appropriate infrastructure to assist in proving rape crimes should be purchased so that forensic departments of the police force will have easy, effective, efficient ways of proving rape. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Benson. Indeed, not even one of the most, it's been proved the most difficult crime to prove is rape because of the issue of consent. So I think even when we're amending our laws, there should be a new interpretation of consent, and I think it should be interpreted as loosely as possible. Any second, Honorable Maki.
Mr. Speaker, my honorable colleagues, I remain Abubakar Maki Elleman. I'm from Jigawa State. I represent Malamuduri Kaugama. I stand to second the amendment heavily moved by my able chairman, Honorable Baba Jimmy Benson. I so second. Thank you.
Those in favor, please say aye. Those against, please say nay. Ayes have it. Honorable Badru.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My name is Eni Todolapo Badru. I represent Lagos Island 1 Federal Constituency. I'm from Lagos State. My amendment is for NAPTIP to open up a register of convicted rapists that is updated regularly with both data and pictures and published regularly in newspapers of pictures and the data of people who are convicted rapists. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Honorable Badru. Honorable Badru's amendment is that NAPTIP should open up a register of convicted rapists and make same public with photographs. I will say that this is actually in keeping in what happens in advanced democracies, even though their own is more about child offenders. But I think perhaps this may be adequate in the Nigerian context. Honorable Nasir Ali Ahmed, second.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. My name is Nasir Ali Ahmed. I represent Nasarawa Federal Constituency, and I'm from Kano State. Mr. Speaker, I rise to second the amendment ably made by my honorable colleague. I so second.
Thank you. Those in favor, please say aye. Those against, please say nay. The ayes have it. Honorable Reverend Francis Wade.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Francis Ejirogane Waiva is my name. I represent the entire people of Ugele North, Ugele South, and Udu. Mr. Speaker, I'm from Delta State. The amendment is that one, the Nigerian National Orientation Agency should begin a boy-child reorientation targeted at anti-rape. When we were growing up, we were told to...
Rev, I think that has already been taken. And this is the reason why we say we should all be attentive. I think Honorable Linda took it. Somebody else even brought it up again, Coco. So it's been brought up twice, and that amendment has passed. Awareness by National Orientation Agency. It's been taken. It's been taken. We put the question and we passed it. Honorable Elumelu.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I remain Honorable Ndudi Godwin Elumelu, and I represent the good people of Anyoche Federal Consensus. I'm from Delta State. My amendment is that the House mandate its Committee on Justice to interface with NAPTIP and the Ministry of Justice on the effective implementation of sex offenses register, as well as finding ways of rewarding persons who voluntarily provide information about suspected gender-based violators.
Seconder.
Your Excellency, the Speaker, distinguished colleague, my name is Victor Melat Nzaria. I represent the people of Balanga Bildiri Federal Constituency. Mr. Speaker, I rise to second the motion heavily moved by my colleague and the minority leader.
Those in favor, please say aye. Those against, please say nay. Ayes have it. Suleiman Gumi.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My name is Suleiman Abubakar Gumi, representing the good people of Gumi Buku in federal constituencies of Delta State. My amendment is on confidentiality. The right and dignity and privacy of the victim should be protected at all stages of prosecution of rape cases. Thank you. I so submit.
Seconder, please. Any seconder? Honorable Larry Edu, please second.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I remain Honorable Edon Lariwaju, representing all the people of Abeokuta South Federal Constituency. I'm from the state known to be the gateway state to Nigeria, and that's Ogun State. I rise to second the amendment ably moved by my colleague. I so second, Mr. Speaker. Thank you.
Those in favor, please say aye. Those against, please say nay. Ayes have it. Anyway, what's your motion? Amended.
Mr. Speaker, honorable colleague, my name is Honorable Chinedu Benjamin Obidigwe. My amendment is on the second prayer or request of the Constitution, sort of the motion, sorry, that we should wear black and black on the next city. Mr. Speaker, if we are wearing black and black for the purpose of those who died on rape, that's correct. But for me, I didn't consider it as appropriate to wear black and black for those, because of Florida, that was killed in the USA, because I heard him when he says that. So, but that's one thing I don't understand here. So it should be for those who died because of rape. If we're wearing black and black, that's correct, it's okay, it's accepted.
But that of person who was killed in the USA by the police of USA, we are wearing black and black. I heard him when he said.
Yeah, so what is your amendment?
Those all over the years that we are killed as a result of rape. It is a part of keeping the country worried about the situation of rape in the country. Thank you.
Those who were killed. What about those who were raped and not killed? I think if we are going to, in a symbolic way, show our discontent, it should cover those who were raped but not killed. So I think we should look for another way to symbolize that. Anyway, any seconder? Any Honorable Oluga?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. While I'm seconding, I want to write on any touch of black. Yes. Any touch of black, whether a cap, whether a face mask or face mask. Yeah. So I write to second the amendment by my honorable colleague. I so second, Mr. Speaker.
Okay, we'll put the question, but I think so as to cover everybody, both rape survivors of rape and those who did not survive. I think there's a hashtag that is already trending, and I think that hashtag will suffice for everybody to wear. But I'll put the question. Those in favor of this say aye. Those against this say nay. Those in favor of this say aye. Those against this say nay. Can the nay stand up and identify himself? Can the nay, otherwise there will be no nay. Can the nay stand up and identify for his constituents? The ayes have it. Honorable Chinedu Onwaso.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My name is Sam Chinedu Onwaso. I represent the good people of Oka North and South Federal Constituency. I'm from Anambra State. Mr. Speaker, when everybody was speaking, the major statement is that rape victims are women only, and that the men are the culprits. I want to amend, Mr. Speaker, that when we are talking of rape victims, it should be both male and female, because sometimes men are also raped. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Any seconder, please, to that amendment? Seconder.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Umar Abdulkadir Sarki is my name. I speak for the good people of Katago Federal Constituency of Bauchi State. Mr. Speaker, I'm from Bauchi State. I write a second amendment made by Honorable Chinedu Onwaso. I say second.
Okay, it's a good amendment, but I believe that the definition of rape is already gender neutral. But for emphasis, I will put the question. The amendment is that rape victims is both men and women. That's your, yes. Those in favor, please say aye. Those against, please say nay. So the nay suggests that men are never victims of rape. Who said nay? Honorable, please stand up and identify and give your vote. That men, don't forget that you have constituents that are men. That men cannot be victims of rape.
This is a matter of law. If we need to make an amendment to the definition of rape, it cannot come through resolution. It has to be amendment of the so many acts that have defined rape. Criminal Code, Penal Code, the VAP, Administration of Criminal Justice Act, all of them.
Yeah. Honorable Linda. I totally agree with you, and there are many amendments here that have been passed and are yet to be passed, and I was going to make the announcement later at the end of it all, that so that we don't just come here and sit down for 2-3 hours, waste our time. A lot of those amendments need to be codified, and they're all going. I was going to make the amendment and commission the committees on human rights, justice, and women's affairs to make sure they bring those amendments in a matter of weeks, so that we'll know that we've done what we need to do here. And that is one of them. But I believe even in the statute already, it doesn't talk about women. It just talks about rape. But just to make sure, yeah. So the ayes have it. Wow. This is awareness should be created. Okay, Honorable Momi, that's already been.
Right, Honorable Speaker, fellow honorable members, I'm Omowumi Olubunmi Ogunola. I'm representing all the people of Ijeru, Ekiti West, F1. I want to withdraw the number 1 amendment, which is talking about the National Orientation Agency, because it has already been taken. But the second one is I'm addressing my mind to that of the inconclusive cases about rape cases that we have in the court, that the cases should, the judiciary should do something about it, so that it will serve as a deterrent to these people that commit this heinous crime, and that it will be addressed.
Okay, Honorable Omowumi's amendment is that the inconclusive rape cases should be speedily addressed by the judiciary. Any seconder? Honorable Luga.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Once again, I remain Taiwo Luga. I represent all the people of Irewole Federal Constituency. Mr. Speaker, I'm from Osun State. I rise to second the amendment, ably moved by my sister and colleague. I so second.
Those in favor, please say aye. Those against, please say nay. The ayes have it. I'll try and read the amendments as quickly as I can, so that we can be fast instead of calling on the members. There are too many here. Honorable Carlo's amendment is to provide test kits for rape victims in all primary health centers in the country. Any seconder? To provide test kits that's rape test kits for victims in all primary health centers in the country. Any seconder? It's the same thing as Honorable Benson's amendment. Okay, that's true. Okay, that has already been taken. Honorable Melu, we've taken yours, right? Okay. So we'll just put the question to the motion. Those in support of the motion as amended, please say aye. Those against, please say nay. Ayes have it. Please, the committees on women affairs, justice, and human rights should please get together and present to this House, I guess in the next 4 weeks, the various amendments that need codification that we have put through here today. Please, in the next 4 weeks, committees on human rights, justice, and women's affairs. Thank you. Part of the prayers was a minute silence for the victims, but in doing that, we'll also join, apparently I've just been informed now, and I'll make the announcement, the notification of a death of former honorable members, of a former honorable member. It is with sadness that I inform you of the death of Alhaji Baba Bukar Machina, a former member representing the good people of Karasua Machina Federal Constituency of Yobe State. He died on 7th of May 2020 after a brief illness. I pray to Allah to grant his soul amongst the blessed ones and continuously receive mercy and grace of Allah. Amen. He has lived a fulfilled life, and he will certainly be remembered in our minds. Signed, Honorable Tijani Zakaria. Do we separate the minute silence, or do we take it together? Take it together. Okay, so let's rise for 1 minute silence. The souls of the departed who lost their lives from rape rest in perfect peace, and may the soul of Alhaji Baba Bukar Machina, our former member, rest in peace. Honorable Sada Soli.
Mr. Speaker, may I kindly remove my mask because I have maximum physical distance so that our colleagues will hear me very well. Mr. Speaker, my name is Sada Soli, representing Jibia Kaita Federal Constituency. I'm from Katsina State, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I'm coming on Order 8, Rule 4, for the House to consider the need for the relevant security agencies to bring to an end the spate of oblivious kidnapping, killings, and armed banditry across the country. Also, request the House to suspend its relevant rules or its rules to enable it debate the matter as urgent matter of public importance forthwith. I so move, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Bina.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker, honorable colleagues. My name is Honorable Obina Chidoka, representing Idemili North, Idemili South Federal Constituency of Anambra State. Mr. Speaker, I rise this afternoon to support that the motion being moved by my colleague, Honorable Sada Soli, be taken and relevant rules be suspended. I so second, Mr. Speaker.
Those in support, please say aye. Those against, please say nay. Ayes have it.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, honorable colleagues, for giving me this opportunity. Mr. Speaker, the need for the relevant security agencies to bring to an end the spate of oblivious kidnappings, killings, and armed banditry attacks across the country. The House notes that in recent time, security situation in some parts of the country has degenerated. Also notes that cases of kidnappings, killings, armed banditry have become a daily occurrence across the country, especially in Niger, Benue, Sokoto, Zamfara, Kaduna, and Katsina State, just to mention a few. Cognizance of the presidential directives, which has not helped to drastically reduce cases of kidnappings and armed banditry, as well as killings in the country due to lack of sustained tempo in the intervention of our military, of our security agencies. These criminals, as a result of that, these criminals have continued to regroup in different camps in government reserve forests, which are spread across the country, and the surrounding villages across near the government reserve forests. Worried that the magnitude of the attacks on various communities have reached an alarming rate as these criminals have continued to perpetuate their criminal acts unabated. Also worried that if this criminality is not urgently addressed, there will be an imminent present danger to our food security in this country. Concerned that any deferment by the security agencies to abridge the continuous horror and inhumanity will result to an enormous loss of lives, destructions of properties, and immobilize the socio-economic and educational activities of various communities across the country. Aware that the country is battling to contain the dangerous community infections rate of COVID-19, added with the persistent attacks by criminals on farming communities across the country, especially in the Northwest and North Central, and if this is not addressed quickly, this may result to serious food shortage in coming years in this country. Also aware that about 500 primary schools and 2,000 communities were completely destroyed across the countries in these crisis areas as a result of this incest, kidnappings, killings, and armed banditry attack. Also worried that these criminals are armed to the teeth with weapons supplied by known or unknown gun runners in cosmopolitan cities across this country. The House resolves to summon the National Security Advisor, the Chief of Defense Staff and his service chiefs, the Director, State Security Service, the Inspector General of Police, next week to brief the House on the efforts being made and the way forward to bring in an end to these killings, kidnappings, and armed banditry across the country. Mandate the leadership of the House to continue the engagement with all the security agencies and report to the House monthly on the progress being made until these heinous crimes are resolved or normalcy is restored in the country. I so move, Mr. Speaker.
Seconder. Honorable Bagaja, I noticed that you have something on the other paper that is restricted to Sokoto, the same issue, but restricted to Sokoto. This might have consumed that motion, so you are going to participate fully in this one. So can you first of all start by seconding this motion? Honorable Bagaja.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I seconded the motion raised by Honorable Sada.
Thank you. Honorable Sada. Let's.
Mr. Speaker, let me take this opportunity and yield contributions to my other colleagues on the floor, Mr. Speaker.
Very good. Well done. Thank you. Honorable Bagaja, please.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My honorable colleagues, and to second, as I said earlier, the insecurity situation that we are facing in our constituencies, in fact, the thing is worsening. For instance, what is happening last 2 to 3 days in our villages, just kidnappers have killed over 150 people from my local government. Number two, they have run away with their animals, over 7,000 cows, goats, camels, and sheep, as well as their food items. We have been trying to call on the federal government over the assistance for quite a long time, because this is my second or third time raising this motion in connection with the present issues that we are facing in our areas, because these issues affect 3 to 4 states. That is Zamfara, Katsina, Sokoto, Niger Republic. Those kidnappers or those bandits are rotating from one angle to another. If you send them from Katsina today, they will be in Sokoto tomorrow. By next day, they will be in Zamfara. So they are rotating. In fact, they say it is happening. No day that our people have not been killed. No day. Kidnapping is automatic. So, in fact, Mr. Speaker, it's something to be considered by this good house. Or that set a committee to find out what is the solution about this issue. Our villages are no more staying in their villages. No farming whatsoever in any village. So in fact, Mr. Speaker, with my honorable colleagues, in fact, I'm pleading. We need more assistance over this issue, see that this issue has been covered up for our people. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Obina Chidoka.
Okay. Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker, honorable colleagues. My name is Obina Chidoka, representing Idemili North, Idemili South, Federal Constituency of Anambra State. It is also with a heavy heart that, first and foremost, I must also thank the mover of the motion on this issue concerning our great country. And secondly, it is a heavy heart that we speak on this matter. From what is happening in the world today, you have seen that it's come to fruition that there is nowhere to run. Nigeria is the only country we have, and in other parts of the world, you see what is happening to black people as well. So if within Nigeria, from the northeast to the northwest, to the southeast, south-south, and southwest, there's really nowhere to run. So this is an issue.
Yes. Deputy Speaker.
All right, so this is an issue that we should take very seriously. What he has mentioned is an army of youths who are unemployed, who are unemployable, who do not have any basic skill, and who are looking for means of livelihood. This has called for a strategic meeting. And I like what he said about the leadership. The leadership of the House to engage the relevant authorities. Because what we now need to do is to begin to think on how to harness the army of young people out there, both men and women. And if we don't do that, I'm sure in the days, months, and years to come, we are going to have more serious issues on our hands. And so, Mr. Speaker, I urge you, I urge the leadership, and I urge all the members, wherever you are from in Nigeria, to not only support this motion, but to look at it as very important. Because a time has come when all the monies we have in the bank, all the cars we have, all the policemen we have guiding some of us will not help matters. We have seen instances where some of these young boys will hold the police on a gun duel, and sometimes they overpower them. And so time has come that we know some of them, we'll identify them, and we'll find out a strategic means of making sure we harness their potentials and make sure that they are employed and engaged fully so that they can move away from crime and criminality. For that reason, Mr. Speaker, I want to thank you for this opportunity, thank my colleagues, and thank everyone. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Linda.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I'm Linda Chuba Igazu, member representing Onisha North and South Federal Constituency. I'm from Anambra State. Let me first of all thank Honorable Sada and Honorable Bagaja for bringing this issue once again before this House. And I also like to thank the leadership, because I'm aware of the fact that the leadership has engaged the service chiefs on the issue of security in our land. So I'll just say that you need to continue doing that. It's right that security is one of the obligations that any government owes its citizens. And it's unfortunate that this issue keeps coming up on the floor of this House. This is not the first time the issue of security has been discussed on this floor, and nothing has come out of it. I'd like to say that whatever strategy that they've been employing, they might need to look at it. If it's not working, they might need to be flexible and look at other strategies to make this work. Security is a major problem in Nigeria right now. As a matter of fact, 2 days ago, I lost a constituent, Mr. Charles Chukura. He was on his way from Ogidi to Onisha, where he went to work. He was killed. He was cut into two. So all lives matter, Mr. Speaker. So I'd like to just say that instead of talking about security all the time, because this is not the first time, and I know it won't be the last, I'd just like to encourage you, Mr. Speaker, because with the leadership, you need to do more. I know you've done a lot, but you guys need to do more, because security is a major problem that we have in this country. I mean, COVID is, of course, the current problem, but without security, no economic thrives. People are suffering in Nigeria, Mr. Speaker. So please, I implore you and urge you to continue what you're doing, but please do more so that we cannot talk about this security again. Because it doesn't make sense to keep talking about it and talking about it. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Distinguished colleagues, my name is Honorable Amadi Dennis. I represent Uji Ezagora constituency of Enugu State. Mr. Speaker, I wish to use this opportunity to thank the mover of this motion as it's timely. It has been a recurring decimal in this Parliament on the issue of security, issue of banditry, and various attacks on the citizens of Nigeria. And we have had cases in our constituencies, irrespective of where each of us have come from. Mr. Speaker, we cannot solve this problem without addressing the engagement of the teeming youth of Nigeria. The COVID we have at hand is just a waiting window for an explosion to come into this country. Most countries are already thinking ahead what to do, whether it's interim measure, medium term or long term, to engage the youth and idle population that is teeming, looking for what to do for living. An angry man, a hungry man is an angry man, Mr. Speaker. There is no rolling plan for our youth. And like my colleague had mentioned, one of the speakers before now, it is important that as a parliament, that we engage the executive to determine what is the future of graduating youths, whether from colleges, whether from university, whether from technical schools. We have a lot of them who are willing to do something for their living. But because of the model of our economy, where an idea cannot come to reality unless you have either collateral going to the banks or you have somebody who can put in his money to sponsor you on the venture you want to go into. There is no plan for over 60 million youths that are within the work bracket of the age distribution. Therefore, Mr. Speaker, it is important because at a time will come when we will be very, very unsafe to move on the street. Not because there is no security, no police, no army, as at that time, these armed forces or these security agents will not be able to cope with the level of uprising coming as a result of youths who have nothing doing. So my major contribution, Mr. Speaker, is that we should engage the executive to bring out a rolling plan that will enable our youths to come out, people who are willing to do something for their living, whether in agriculture, whether in micro-manufacturing, a blueprint that is accessible, a blueprint that is not encumbered with bureaucracy, where there are interventions and you find out that less than 5% of eligible people do not get it. Where the distribution of every intervention, whether in agriculture, whether in micro-manufacturing, it does not get to the desired people that requires these incentives to motivate and stimulate the economy. So we must think ahead. These are the emerging time bombs that are coming. And by that time, if we do not take precautionary measures to begin to address it now, we find ourselves in a big trouble. I thank you, Mr. Speaker, for the opportunity to contribute to this motion.
Thank you. Honorable Wumi. Wumi Ogulola.
Right Honorable Speaker, fellow honorable members in the House, I'm Honorable Olubumi Ogulola. I'm representing all the good people of Ijero, Ekiti West, Efon. I'm from Ekiti State. Mr. Speaker, the issue of security in Nigeria, this is not the first time that this kind of debate has come into the front of the House. And it's like the people that are saddled with the responsibilities of securing the nation, maybe I should say is a case of ineptitude, or that they don't really have a solution to it. And that is the problem that we have in Nigeria. And this is affecting everybody. There's no one that is not being affected by the situation that we find ourselves in Nigeria. And I feel if the people that are saddled with these responsibilities, they cannot handle it, maybe there is a need for the legislative arm of government to be able to invite them and have an interface with them so that there can be a kind of a solution that will be brokered, or there will be a kind of solution that will be put in the front that will affect the nation at large. And the point is, we have never had it so bad in Nigeria. And every day we are recalling many cases of threats to lives. If it's only limited to threats, it will say, okay, it's something that can be accommodated. But there are lives that are lost every day on a daily basis, and there is no solution to it. You go to the street, you can't go out, even for most of people that are in high positions, that are holding high positions in Nigeria. They are being threatened too. They are being threatened, regardless of the securities that they have with themselves or that is with them. So I want to say that there is need to really address this squarely, because it's calling for attention. And if care is not taken, it might go. What we are talking about might go to the root of this nation. And that is the fear that we have. Because if the people that are supposed to secure the nation, they cannot do what they are supposed to do, what's the need of, I will not want to say anything that will be volatile here, but what I want to say is that something serious should be done, and steps should be taken to address this. Let all the security chiefs, we have never done that, let them come and address us. through the nation. After all, we are representing the people. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Bamidele.
Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker. I'm Representative Bamidele Salam. I represent Ede North, Ede South, Egbedore, Jibo Federal Constituency. I'm from Osun State. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I want to also lend my voice to the very important motion moved by Honorable Sada Soli and our other colleague on the need for us to be more proactive and take very drastic steps in conjunction, of course, with the executive arm of government to be able to stem this tide of insecurity that is sweeping every part of the country. Mr. Speaker, I want to take a look at it from two different angles. The first angle has to do with the security architecture that we adopt as a country. Mr. Speaker, the major responsibility of handling internal security is that of the police everywhere in the world. Today, we have a situation where crimes like banditry, kidnapping, cattle rustling, and some other, crimes, we call on the military to tackle and handle them only because we have failed to develop the capacity of our police force to tackle these problems. Normally, the military is supposed to protect the sovereign integrity of the country and handle other complex issues like insurrection or other things that are beyond the police. But today, we have so much stretched the military that as they combat, the terrorism in the south, in the northeast, they are called upon to counter, cattle rustling in Katsina, kidnapping in Lagos, and so on and so forth. Now, it calls on us to be more, creative, especially in putting attention on strengthening the capacity of the Nigerian police force. Number one, recruiting more men and ensuring that there is adequate training, motivation, and provision of equipment for our police force to be able to tackle these problems. Because if we don't, it will get to a situation, God forbid, that communities will have to form themselves into militia to protect themselves against these rampaging people who are going all about, perpetrating this criminality everywhere around the country. And then, Mr. Speaker, I also want to warn that we have to, let principal actors of government in the executive level know that the Constitution does not just say that the principal purpose of government security of life and property, it actually meant it. The strategy of some state governments calling for a truce, granting amnesty to bandits. I read the governor of Katsina State recently saying that he regretted that he went into an agreement with bandits in the state because he thought that he was going to solve the problem. It will never solve any problem. A government has to be decisive. A government has to confront a problem of crime. Crime is crime. You don't negotiate with criminals. You take them out. It is only by doing that that you deter any other person who wants to go into crime. And lastly, Mr. Speaker, it's also the need for us to address the youth, the problem of drugs amongst our youth. It is one problem that is creating a breeding ground for this criminality. The way drug is being abused in every part of the country today is quite alarming. Young boys and young girls going into all manner of drugs, prepares their mind and their heart for, to be recruited into this criminality. And I think this is one other area that we need to focus our attention on. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yeah, let's hear from maybe he has a different perspective, the Chairman Defense, Honorable Baba Jimmy Benson.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, for yielding the floor to me. I remain Baba Jimmy Benson. I represent Ikorodu Federal Constituency, Lagos State. Mr. Speaker, I've listened to contributions from members. Mr. Speaker, there's an assumption here. There's an assumption that you can use law enforcement and security to kill poverty. You can't, Mr. Speaker. Honorable colleagues explained about the rate of unemployment, about how our governors receive monthly, yearly allocations without putting proper infrastructure or engaging the youth in gainful employment. Mr. Speaker, there's an assumption that armed forces of Nigeria are well equipped. Mr. Speaker, there's an assumption that the armed forces that are trained to fight against foreign aggression can effectively fight insurgency or banditry. Mr. Speaker, there's an assumption that the armed forces of Nigeria is well funded. Mr. Speaker, I stand here to say that these assumptions are very, very wrong. Mr. Speaker, this role that everybody is looking on the Nigerian armed forces to perform are actually roles that the Nigerian police should perform. Mr. Speaker, focus should be channeled to how the Nigerian police can be better manned, how the Nigerian police can recruit as many youths as possible, how the Nigerian police can start community policing. Mr. Speaker, how the Nigerian economy can employ and make employable our youth. Mr. Speaker, this is not an armed forces matter. Mr. Speaker, this is a real economic matter that needs a Marshall Plan for us to get out of. I repeat again, Sami, you cannot use law enforcement to kill poverty. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Honorable Babajimi Benson. Honorable Benson, there is poverty all over the world. That is should not. It might be a factor, but it should not be an excuse for lives to be insecure. There's poverty all over the world. But I understand the constitutional role of the police. Is that honorable? Yes. Okay, I was waiting for DS to round up, but DS, since your hand is up, I wanted you to round up because DS is one of the prime movers of this particular security motion. No, you will, but let DS have it there. Babajimi, who's in front of you? No. It's Kuye. No, don't worry. I just wanted to know who it was. You're wearing a different cap. DS, please.
Mr. Speaker, respected colleagues, my name is Ahmed Idris. I represent WASEI, Federal Constituency Plateau State, by the grace of God and by the gracious magnanimity of this House, the Deputy Speaker of the House of Representatives. Your Excellency, sir, I rise on a very, very deep, sad heart at this very particular moment over what is happening in our country. And I think it should be of concern to all of us. When we came in 2015, the main challenge in this country was Boko Haram. To the glory of God, Boko Haram has been reduced. But what is happening, the backlash of what Boko Haram has caused us, or what is happening today, should also be of worry and to all of us and to all Nigerians. Your Excellency, you recall sometimes past, about last year, the House passed a resolution where we had interactive session with the various security chiefs. It was reported in this floor of the House what should be done and what they were supposed to be doing. Today we have so many operations in the country. Operation Habron Kunama, Operation Zaki, all over. Even yesterday or 2 days ago, we have another establishment of this very operation by the armed forces. And so I'm taken aback when the chairman of defense is trying to defend, to say the army should be exonerated from this very particular. I think we should take exception to that. We are voting in money is being given out. They are establishing formations everywhere for the purpose of curbing this very bad scenario that is happening in our country. You can't travel for any part of this country freely. Is it going to Kaduna? Is it going to South? And I think it's not about poverty. Poverty is everywhere. If, for instance, I want to know what is the number of these people, what is the area where bought helicopters, we celebrated, money has been voted, I say substantial money. I want to know the area where these people are operating, that they cannot be surrounded, they cannot be combed. Hey, sir, it's very, very sad. And I think something should be done. I want to say, sir, that there is no synergy, as far as I'm concerned, within the armed forces. And so one is trying to outweigh the other. I want to say, from the previous information that I know, security, DSS particularly, have been doing exceedingly well. And I will say this to the entire world living here. Virtually, nothing that has happened, nothing, without an information to say of expectation of what may likely happen. But what is the problem that from the other arms, that they cannot collaborate with their own colleagues and then solve the matter? Politics have come in. Last time we spoke, we knew how the armed forces, when they operating in Burma, have turned out to be people who are now selling fish. It's not even Nigerian. There's no patriotism in what is going on. And I think something should be done apart from hearing, sir. Some heads have to roll. You recall the House passed a resolution asking and condemning and then passing a vote of confidence on the activities of the service chiefs. Unfortunately, they have not been removed. Unfortunately, I will say I will domicile this problem under their care. You are aware of the memo that was leaked between the office of the late chief of staff and the problem between with the national security advisor. Why are we pretending? Why are we pretending when we know the reality? Mr. Speaker, respected colleagues, something has to be done. One life in Nigeria means a lot to all of us. With this pandemic, I want to say our people cannot go to farm. And if we cannot farm, there's no importation. How are we going to survive? How will the country survive? Food security is something that all of us should be worried about, apart from the human life that we should also to protect. All of us here have sworn to do that. And I think we should call a spade a spade. It's time to rise to the occasion to ensure, by the grace of God, to ensure that this thing comes to an end. Governors have gone, another governors, for instance, went into various sessions. Armed bandits that are known had negotiations. Where? Lodged in hotels. Why do you have to negotiate with the criminal? What has it paid to us? All this negotiation, what has it paid? Have we getting something? If you read today's paper, you find where Masari is saying, regretting negotiating with them. You need to listen to some of the audios. Somebody in Kasina, a member in the House of Assembly, domiciling the problem, and the problem is true. Because if we are doing what we are supposed to be doing, of course, some of this thing cannot be happening. Yesterday, I was watching NTA, and I watched Gerald Timlong, who is one of the most respected persons, and he's saying in NTA to the whole world, the problem of security, as far as it's concerned, the National Assembly of Nigeria are part of the problem. Why is he saying that? We are not doing our oversight the way we should be doing. He even challenged us that we are not, he compared us what we are doing with the Congress of America. It is true in some of the areas, and I think, sir, all of us should rise to the occasion. I support the motion wholeheartedly in all the content. We should invite these people, they should come and give us, and we must find a timeline to solve this matter. Otherwise, even it means to summon the president, nothing bad to summon the president to come and address us on the state of the nation and security matter. Thank you very much, sir. This is about
I think Honorable Babajimi Benson's contribution about restricting the role of the armed forces to external aggression, which is the primary role of the armed forces, we must understand that, has become, many have joined issues with him, including the Deputy Speaker. But let me just, for emphasis sake, because we cannot hide under just external aggression, because Section 217 of the Constitution is very clear. It says the role of the armed forces includes suppressing insurrection, and acting in aid of civil authorities to restore order when called upon by the President to do so, and subject to such conditions as may be prescribed by an act of the National Assembly, and performing all other functions as may be prescribed by an act of the National Assembly. And I believe the Armed Forces Act, which is an act of this National Assembly, covers that field. So whilst their traditional role is external aggression and territorial integrity, the language of the Constitution and the laws that we have passed is broad enough to include, to aid the police and other civilian authorities. Thank you very much, DS. Honorable Dan Dutse.
This issue is very, very important to the progress and development of this country, considering the fact of what is happening. Actually, the banditry situation in Nigeria and the way and manner the security are handling it is very unfortunate. Even if they are deployed to go and do what they are supposed to do, they are ending up collecting bribery to the people who are innocent and who are looking for their daily meals. And in actual sense, if you go to my constituency and the neighboring states of Katsina, Sokoto, Zamfara, and Kaduna, there is no sustained operations in terms of fighting this banditry and armed robbery. What the police and the military are doing, if they are deployed, they will be in the local government secretariat, or they will be in the primary school, sitting, eating, and just sleeping without doing what they are supposed to do, allowing the innocent people in the night to be maimed and operate at the mercy of the bandits. And even day before yesterday, the military are in Dandume, and somebody was kidnapped, and a very rich farmer, and he said he is not going to be taken to the bush. They slaughter him, and the people in Dandume, they went to the military camp where they were camped. The military said they are not giving directives to go and face the bandit. Even last week, my farm manager called me. He told me that these bandits, they came out in 100 vehicles, motorcycles. And he told me, I called the area commandant. I told him, these people are coming out to operate by 8 o'clock in the night. You are supposed to mobilize the military and mobilize the mobile force to come and test them and finish them. But he told me that they were not given that order, which is his own jurisdiction. The following day, they killed 13 people and sacked about 7 areas in Paskari and Sabwa local government. So this situation, Mr. Speaker, we need to look at it as a leaders, and we need to be realistic in this approach. If we are serious and determined to ensure peace and security of this country, because one, as a farmer, All my farms now cannot be assessed because of the banditry. They even go to the farms and take people and collect 100,000, and the least they collect, that is 100,000 if you are a small farming holder. If you are a big farmer, they will collect 5 million, 10 million, 8 million. Even day before yesterday, the chairman of PDP, former chairman of PDP, his children was raped for 19 days, and he paid 30 million naira. It's unfortunate to this government, and it's very sad and very pathetic. We have to be realistic, and we have to approach this holistically to ensure peace and security of this country. Because Tamil Tigers in Sri Lanka, as a student of history, the government fights Tamil Tigers with all force, and they do it left, right, and center, and they ensure that Tamil Tiger is no longer in existence. These criminals, if people will be allowed, I assure you, sir, to take the law into their hand, it will be a thing of the past. But unfortunately, we are constrained. We are not allowed. Most of the people that are calling Mbanga, those that are supposed to vigilante, some of the security are even maiming them because they are looking at them as if they come to do their jobs. But, Mr. Speaker, my respected colleagues, it's very sad from what the Deputy Speaker said. A member of Katsina Assembly called us, we don't know what we are doing, we and the executives. So as a matter of fact, I went to this house to make it a resolution to this very unfortunate situation. We are ready to sacrifice our life to face this unfortunate situation so that for the yet unborn generation, because we know when I was local government chairman, there is a lot of criminality in Puntua. Every day, 10 houses will be entered. I take it upon myself to get intelligence information. I paid for the intelligence information, and I fight the criminals, and people sleep with their eyes closed before peace and security was sustained, because Puntua has all the interconnection with most of the states of the country. You may find anybody in Puntua. So that is why since 2003, I'm in the system, whether you like me or you don't like me, because I am telling the naked truth, Mr. Speaker, as the Speaker of the masses, as the Speaker who is responsible. We need to pass these service chiefs. They are long overdue, and it's unfortunate what they are doing. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you very much. Honorable Theo Roberts.
Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, my name is Theo Robert Anna. I speak for the people of Kwande and Ushungu. Mr. Speaker, you would recall that sometime last month, I had approached you about this issue. Mr. Speaker, as we speak, the people of Mon in Tura and Kwande local government have not been able to go back to their farms for the past 6 years. The communities of Madura are at the edge. The communities of Kura are at the edge. Just 3 days ago, in Ojuluka government, 13 people were killed. Last week in Agasha, 8 people were killed. Last week in Guma, 6 were killed. Mr. Speaker, the situation of insecurity is become very bad. As a farming state, and in this farming season, what that means is that we are running from our farms at this time. So it is something that we have to face squarely. Mr. Speaker, I appeal that the security agencies their leaders be made to do their duty. As I speak to you, Mr. Speaker, there's a small army unit of about 20 sighted in Chatwaka. Those men will not move even when people cry to them. And they tell you they were not sent to go and fight. So something drastic has to be done. If not, what we are called food basket of the nation will become a nothing basket because the farmers are running from their farms. If the Inoju, 13 are killed in one night and they attacked again yesterday night, it means that you will not stop. So, Mr. Speaker, we appeal that something be done to make the security agencies sit on their table. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Dandutse raised a very interesting point. I will urge members to look at Section 227 of the Constitution and see how we can rearrange that section to accommodate what Honorable Dandutse said. Section 227 of the Constitution. It talks about quasi-military groups. I think we should look at it and see how we can tweak it in a way that will make the fight against the criminals more effective. Honorable Margaret.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. My name is Kasim Ubello Maigari. I speak for good people of Jardin Weros in Federal Constituency. I'm from Taraba State. Mr. Speaker, sir, this issue of kidnapping, I think our securities are not telling us the truth. They are always giving briefs on the success, but there's a lot of questions that need answers, sir. These kidnappers, they are communicating with the family of their victims through phones. We are told by the Ministry of Communications that all lines in Nigeria have been registered. And all the satellites we have are numbered. Wherever you are making calls, the signals is indicating you are making calls in so-so point. Last time, Mr. Speaker, Mr. President commissions a very sophisticated vehicles that they told us they will use them in tracking every calls. What are the function of that vehicle? Where are the vehicles now? And also, Mr. Speaker, we have been seeing some arrested kidnappers. The security are interviewing them. They are confessing that they collected 100 million, 20 million, 40 million. But if they were asked, how much did you collect from that amount, they will tell you 100,000 or 200. Mr. Speaker, sir, who is collecting the lion's share of that money? Who is he? Why he is not mentioned? Mr. Speaker, last time they kidnapped somebody in my local government. They took him, they used vehicle. They follow a main road from the local government to Jalingo. They passed not less than 8 checkpoints with demands eyes tight. Where are the security on that checkpoint? What are they doing? Mr. Speaker, sir, it's not about only calling the security to come and brief us. No, they have to tell us the truth of the matter. What is happening? The small securities on the roads, some they will give you a genuine reasons. Last time, one of our colleagues was telling me he was coming back, he took an escort. Until after they reached Abuja, the security was telling him, sir, our guns are not working. So there's a lot of things. We are always budgeting money in this house, and this money have been spent. They have to tell us what are they doing exactly with this money. And Ministry of Communication have to tell us why are they still using telephones and we cannot trace them. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. Victor Mela. Let's try and stick to 2 minutes, please, so that we can. Mela.
Mr. Speaker, distinguished honorable colleagues, my name is Victor Melat Anzaria. I represent the good people of Balanga Plenary Federal Constituency. Mr. Speaker, I'm from Gombe State. Mr. Speaker, I have 3 points. I'm not going to waste time. I am calling on, again, the resignation of the service chiefs of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Mr. Speaker, the issue of security, you can see the faces of distinguished honorable members here. The issue of security is so important that it affects everyone. As I'm talking to you, Mr. Speaker, somebody I will call my dad is 2 blocks from my village, Kalmai, in Plenary local government area of Gombe State. Right now is in the hands of kidnappers. This is a PDP think tank, a politician of over 60 years. As I'm talking to you, the first call was 50 million. His children are now back at home. The community, my town, like I said, Mr. Speaker, this man's house is 2 blocks to my father's house. He's now in the hands of kidnappers. This is a serious issue. Anytime it comes up, every state is affected. Mr. Speaker, I still want to say the issue is not about money being appropriated for these agencies. Everywhere you go, when you see a fine house, it's either for a captain, for an inspector, or for a superintendent. A lot of people are making money out of this issue. It is time for us as legislators to play our role in making sure that the issue of security in this country improves. Mr. Speaker, distinguished honorable colleagues, finally, I want to say, I will give myself 2 months, Mr. Speaker. If nothing is done tangible to show Nigerians that this House has taken a serious step to cut down the issue of security in this country, I'm going to resign. And I'm serious about it. We cannot come up here and every day we stand and observe silence. The debt is too much. We have to show Nigerians we are for Nigerians. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable colleagues, that's a very serious statement. And we know we know the contributions of Honorable Victor Mela on this floor and his passion. So he has thrown the challenge so that he does not resign. Something needs to be done. Honorable Gudaji.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My highly respected colleagues, my name is Honorable Mohammed Gudaji Kazaure, member representing Kazaure, Roni, Wiwa, and Enkwashi. Mr. Speaker, I'm from Jigawa State. Mr. Speaker, seriously, Mr. Speaker, seriously, Mr. Speaker, my highly respected colleagues, this is not the issue of judging. Don't joke. We are talking about
the members around you are insisting that we wear your mask. And then raise your voice.
Mr. Speaker, people are talking about coronavirus. How many people coronavirus kill in Nigeria? You are talking about coronavirus. We are talking about bandits. In only a single day, they kill the people that pass. All the people die with corona in Nigeria. People, they consider this corona as something. Put your mask, block the state, go at home. They shut down everything. We're not supposed to shut down. We're supposed to shut down this country for banditry, not corona. Mr. Speaker, the black people are very strong. I don't believe with any corona. No corona will touch me. Mr. Speaker, seriously, what I believe in it is look at how we became serious in the issue of corona in this country. Why won't government be serious in the issue of this killing as they treated corona? Mr. Speaker, seriously, what is going? All what we are doing, welfare, project, everything that this government is doing to make sure that they do welfare or to show change in this government, this banditry, this insecurity is dissolving all our effort. Seriously, in this country, Mr. Speaker, what I observe, SSS are not doing their job. Because if bandits are coming from the forest to come inside the town, SSS is supposed to detect them and inform the military and police. The problem is these people are coming, Mr. Speaker, from the forest. And sometimes information will reach to the security. But these people will still come, spend hours in a village. Hours, not minutes. Killing people, burning houses. They will even relax there. And then they go. Then later on, security will go and begin carry cuffs. So, Mr. Speaker, in this government, all what we are doing in this government, people of this country are not giving us credit because of security. Because the best thing is to protect life and property of a human being. And if you come to the issue of economy, Mr. Speaker, these people, majority of the affected areas, they are the ones producing the food that we are eating in this country. 80% of the farmers cannot go farm. So in the next 1 year, Mr. Speaker, all what we have will finish. And we never farm what we eat in the future. And we put ban on importation. So, Mr. Speaker, what I fear is people of this country, now the common people are looking for us. So gradually, if we allow this insecurity to continue, people will take law into their hand. And the people, they will begin go to the houses of a well-being people and start attacking them to bring them food to eat. Because gradually, if you go to the local area, the only things, the security of our people is that farming. They will farm what they will eat. And it's because of that farming, this country stay in a peace. So seriously, Mr. Speaker, what I observe is the security, as they said, is embarrassed to the Nigerian security. It's embarrassment to the Nigerian security that a state governor are negotiating with a criminal to bring peace in his state because the security cannot tackle that thing. He has to beg them to stop killing his people. He even promised to give them money. Where are the security? Where are the money appropriated for arms? Where are the helicopters? What the Air Force are doing? These people, they are coming in the daytime. In bike, they will send them 200 on bike. You can just bomb them with helicopter in 5 minutes. Where are the intelligent? So seriously, Mr. Speaker, it's embarrassing to negotiate with a criminal is an embarrassment to our security in this country. And what I observe, sir, Air Force, Army, and police, they're supposed to be serious and take, if you send somebody who's AK-47 to attack a bandit who's AK-47, and some bandit, they have even GPMGs. So, Mr. Speaker, the security are not ready to tackle that. As you take tankers, sophisticated tankers to Sambisa, that is what army is supposed to take to this our forest. Surround our forest with tankers, enter that forest,
flush those idiots and finish them. But as far as they say, they will take Hilux and go on patrol just inside the city. These people, they are living inside the forest and they are there. So if security are serious, why can't they surround that place with tankers, helicopters, up and down? They will finish them in less than 7 days. So seriously, Mr. Speaker, if security are serious, they will tackle this.
Thank you very much, Honorable Guraje. Honorable Kiru.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues. I'll just take 1 minute. I am Kiru Kaunye George. I represent the good people of Isuku Adumunu, Federal Constituency, and from Abia State. Mr. Speaker, it's a sad commentary this afternoon. It's very sad, obviously. We moved a motion here, and we said these security agencies should be sacked, and they were not sacked. And nothing has improved after that. And I want to just ask something. Why is it that people cannot resign when they are not performing? It's only in Nigeria that you see that you are not performing. Yes, they've done their best, for God's sake. But their best is not enough to secure lives and property. All of them are putting their best. In Southeast, you have Pythondas, you have a Weke, you have this. They are just changing names and whatever. But in changing this thing, what have changed? From Abia State, last week, a community was sacked in Ebonyi State, to Edo, to Delta, to Katsina. And let me even ask you, I'm very, very worried that the state of President of Federal Republic of Nigeria is under siege. Which country would take that? My own state, as President of Federal Republic of Nigeria, and somebody is saying I'm in charge of security. I'm Chief of Army Staff, I'm Defense, I am IG of Police. And the governor is saying I back out of a negotiation. Why did you even start negotiating with bandits? Which means that you know them. I was thinking that people don't know these people. And so if you're negotiating, that means you know the people. So what are we budgeting for? What are we doing? So in moving forward, I believe that until we begin, the system forces people to resign on their own. Since we have failed in sacking people, let the system force people to resign. It is only here that somebody will know that he has failed woefully and the person will be receiving an award. Some people will be clapping for the person will be behaving as if he's a hero. You don't celebrate failure. Yes, they may be working. And if anybody is saying that poverty has nothing to do with security, it's a lie. And there will be more poverty because people are no more inside their farms. In my village, people can't go to farm. Once a woman goes to farm, they will bring the person and they rape the person. In the little farms we are farming. So, Mr. Speaker, everybody must condemn this. Even the person is my father. If my father has failed, I will tell my father, Nna, come back. So that you don't bring shame to us. It's sad commentary and we must condemn it.
Thank you very much, Honorable Group. We will now reduce the time to 1 minute as Chan covers as much as so we can get out of here. Honorable Abbas, then Honorable Adejari.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues. My name is Honorable Abbas Adigo. I represent Ibadan Southeast, Ibadan Northeast, Federal.
1 minute, everybody, 1 minute.
I'm from Oyo State. Mr. Speaker, if I can remind every one of us in this National Assembly, the first quarter of the National Assembly, all we are talking about is insecurity, insecurity, insecurity. And thank you for the original movement of this motion. Thank you, Honorable, for bringing security back today. Mr. Speaker, we are looking into everything on the top. We don't look into something in the bottom. We are calling for the service chief to be resigned. This, that. That's not the issue. As a security personnel myself, I retired from the US Navy. We have to look into, first of all, Honorable, what's the issue? Honorable Bamidele, number one, what is the percentage of our population? And what is the percentage of the armed forces, or policemen, or DSS, or our agencies that we have in Nigeria? we need to do massive recruitment. We need to issue to that because the issue is happening in A and in point B, point C. How many security want to direct to that place at the same time? We are in sort of a recruitment in all our agencies, including NRA, DSS. We need to work on that. If we need to fund them to recruit more capacity, more power, so that we can be able to deal with all these parties, all these criminals. That's number one. Number two, Mr. Speaker, we need to understand one thing in this House, no assembly. We need to do something very, very important, very right. How many times do we see all these kidnappers that are being captured? And at the end of the day, they right there in the day, sitting down, example, Evans in Lagos. This is operation. They lost life, they lost money, they lost people's lives, and it's still right there, nothing done. We need to call on Justice Department to do something about that. If they have been punished, we will not have another people do the same crime. They will show a sample to the dead. Number three, Mr. Speaker, very, very important.
It's almost time. Quickly.
Every country in the world, they are moving forward. We need to start moving forward and do the thing the right way. We need to start thinking inside the box. Okay, how can we not have state police? If I'm from Yoruba and I was posted to Kaduna or to Sokoto, I don't understand the language. And they are talking in the Hausa language, and I don't understand the language. So I cannot able to understand what the criminals are saying. Maybe they are calling for the backup or what. But we need to work on how can we get state police so that I can understand if I'm a Yoruba and a Yoruba is a criminal, I understand the culture, the language. We can understand if they are planning for anything, I will understand. So state police is very, very important that we need to work on. If we can address those 3 points, then security in Nigeria will be better than the way it is now. Thank you, Mr.
Thank
Speaker.
you, Honorable Abbas. Honorable Adejare.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I still remain Honorable Dr. Samuel Babatunde Adejare. I represent the good people of Agege, Lagos State. Sir, we cannot, I repeat, we cannot continue to act in a very reckless manner and we expect good results. We cannot. Let me tell you, sir, that the Sahel region that is above Nigeria has been undergoing a lot of problems, insecurity problems. We were never proactive about this issue. And we knew very well that the problem was shared to us. Our border with that Sahel region is no border. We have no border with Niger. We have no border with Mali. We are not protecting our borders there. So what do you expect? Our intelligence agencies are not working. They should be proactive. They should identify this militia. They are all militia trying to raise money for their cause. And they go for the South Belly when they want to attack. And the easiest way for them is to come into our own dear country to take money, kidnap our people, get money. And that's what they are doing, to buy ammunition for themselves and make their militia grow. We need to recognize all these issues and go after them. Sergeants, soldiers came into Nigeria to fight Boko Haram with us. When Nigerian soldiers come sometimes ago, how those countries will start shaking. Now it's the river. They are making use of us. They know our soldiers are not what they used to be again. There is love of money from the top to the bottom. We are saying some people are not performing. And as a government, we still see some keeping them. For what? This house is called pay bill. We should from now henceforth as not dealing with those service chiefs. We should not have approved any money for them in the budget. We should not, nobody should even bring them here. The day they come here, I will say they walk out. Because we are said we don't have any confidence in them. Why should we bring them here?
Honorable Adejare, once if the House makes a resolution, you cannot stage a walkout. It's a collective. Sir. If it's a collective resolution of the House, then we will all abide by it. I stand
corrected, sir. Thank you very much. But we should be proactive about this issue, and let's give our people, let them know that we are doing something about it. We cannot be coming here to talk about security all the time, and there's nothing doing.
We're not doing anything. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Chris. Honorable Chris.
Thank you, the Right Honorable Speaker. My respected colleagues, I am Chris Emeka Asborg. I represent Nnewi North, Nnewi South, and Ekushiro.
Let's stick to our 1 minute, please, everybody.
I want to lend my voice to this motion, but I want to specifically say that it is obvious that the entire security architecture and the entire structure of security in the country has failed because the primary structures of security have not been put in place. Beginning, like Adejare mentioned, a lot of people come into the country, come in, commit crimes and go away, and we don't have the basic structure to identify those who are Nigerians and those who are not Nigerians. Intelligence failed because we do not identify criminals. And primary things we must put in place as a nation is to ensure that we identify who and who. And that's the things we use to tie in those who committed crimes and identify them, and it's easy to eliminate them intelligently and smartly. It is not about mass killing. You can't kill people massively. You can pick criminals one by one if you had properly identified them, and Nigerian citizens are not properly identified, and it's difficult for us to know those who are not. If you go to Francophone countries on top of us, Chad, Cameroon, Niger, but anywhere you go to, they'll ask you for a They have proper identity. Nigerian citizens are not properly identified, and it's difficult to track criminals. Intelligence structure is not in place, and we have to consider it. But however, instead of complaining about the problem, let us all talk about the solutions. I will also stand and say that it is high time we put up a national dialogue on the dialogue on national security. If you're going to prepare a perspective, a parliamentary national dialogue on national security, it is important so that we can, after engaging all these people, let us have a proper dialogue. Look at the critical challenges we are having and how to provide solutions. It is all over the place. It's threatening our national security. Everywhere, farmers had banditry everywhere. Boko Haram have been there over the years. The last time, the people from Chad wanted to finish the people causing problem in Northeast. After 7 days, they've got then we asked them to go back. Nothing have stopped them to have not finished them in Sambisa. Our military have been there for years, they couldn't fight them. The Chad army and their president came, within few weeks or few days, they were almost running them out, and they had to beg for them to go back. So we have to take this thing serious, like everybody's saying. And when we address it, and I want to let my voice that this thing will go, and that's why in my amendment, I said that if you're inviting security officers, we have to invite the Nigerian customs, who clear some of the arms into the country, and also immigration, who allow people to come in. We need to invite them. They have to be part of people that will invite. That's my...
Thank you, Chris. Deputy Chairman, Defense, Honorable Maki.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, my honorable colleagues. I'm Abubakar Maki Elleman. I represent Madam Muduri Kaugama Federal Constituency. I'm from Jigawa State. Mr. Speaker, first and foremost, I have to thank the mover of this motion. And since the Ninth Assembly started, we have been talking about security, security, security. But to my surprise, the whole contributors, nobody appreciates the effort of our security men. They are human beings like us. They need courage. They need motivation from this hollow green chamber. One, to give you a typical example, Mr. Speaker, my honorable colleagues, last 1 to 2 weeks, the governor of Sokoto came and paid a visit to Mr. President on the issue of banditry in Sokoto. Immediately the following day, the chief of air staff moved to Sokoto. I didn't see anybody appreciated that effort, and the outcome we don't know. And I insisted, even in the initial time, the last time that we were talking about the security issue, Mr. Speaker, issue of security is not an ordinary issue that will come before the camera and start discussing it to the public. The mandate and the aim of this government, each and every one of us is aware, is to tackle of insecurity in this country. And then definitely they are aware of what is going on. It's not for public domain to say the strategies of how they are handling this. They are in Borno, they are in Katsina, they are in Zamfara, they are in Sokoto. Thank God the chairman of army, he came up with a motion last time that looking for approval to give the military to recruit almost 100,000 officers. Then we should question ourselves, who is the legislators here, the representative of our people. Mr. Speaker, an officer will be deployed to Maiduguri because he had me here standing. He will say that he spent 2-3 years there. He wants me to talk to any of the chief of staff or security agents to be redeployed to come back to Abuja or to move to Lagos, to leave the battlefield, while he's a military officer. Mr. Speaker, commonly, there is issue of this lockdown. Military has to be deployed to the streets. Yes, they are all over everywhere. We're supposed to talk to our people, at least to talk to them, to hear us. These banditries, they are not anybody, they are in our mix. They are our people. They are the people we know. Most of them, they are aware. And if you go to a village or a local government, you will see that a police officer spent 3 years, 3 months, 3 years in the office. He cannot be moved. He's familiar with the terrain. So even if you caught those banditry, you took them. For example, I was seeing the case was being still down of that Adamawa, this kidnapper. What are they waiting? Is he not a kidnapper? What will be the outcome? So we need to do something and encourage this service chief. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Maki. Last speaker on this side.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Rep Ibrahim Ayakunle Isaka is my name. I represent the very good people of Ifo, Ewekoro Federal Constituency. I'm from Ogun State, Mr. Speaker. I want to lend my voice with all that my colleagues have said all day today. And I think I want to summarize on my part to say that there is no peace in the land. That is all that we are talking about. If we look at the National Peace Index, the global one, we talk about Iceland, New Zealand, Portugal, and Austria. Ranking in that order. We look back behind us here, Mr. Speaker, we talk about Botswana, even nearby Sierra Leone. They've all gone through this challenging period we are going through today. But at the end of the day, Mr. Speaker, everything came to a point that people had to sit down and agree on so many things. Sierra Leone today, Mr. Speaker, is ranked currently as the most peaceful country in West Africa, leaving us behind, Mr. Speaker. By this point, the people who are causing these havocs, they are not ghosts. And I'm sure Nigerians are not going to be pushed to the level where we have to say we need to engage bandits to come and secure this country for us. We still need our security personnel. Mr. Speaker, it is a high time today so that we can cure what my honorable member who has threatened us to resign, we can cure it. That this House, ably led by you and the leadership, should have a roadmap for what I want to call National Peace Conference. With this, all evidences and complaints so adduced on this floor today can be ventilated openly and secretly before such a committee with other stakeholders. As we speak today, Mr. Speaker, if we sit down to evaluate and check how much this country has spent in the last 20 years on security, whether being for police, army, civil defense, paramilitary, etc., if we put all this consolidated exposure together, the releases and the expenditure, they are good enough to even pack all of us in this country to an island somewhere to build for us to live. These are things that this National Peace Conference should come together to look at. If we set it as a roadmap, okay, sir. I have submitted my amendment before you, Mr. Speaker, for this House, Amendment calling for National Peace Conference.
We're not taking any amendments. I think this motion is straightforward because I have amendments here, about 20. We would not be here for another 2 hours. I think the motion is straightforward. Let's just take a few more speakers so that we can get out. The principal officers have a meeting with the vice president at 4 o'clock, and it's already 3 o'clock, please. So just Honorable Mama and then Honorable Kuye. One minute, please. 1 minute, please.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues. My name is Honorable Ifeanyi Chudimoma. I represent the people of Ihiala Federal Constituency. I'm from Anambra State. I'm not going to take more than 1 minute. I must commend the Deputy Speaker for articulating the real issues. And I must thank Mr. Speaker for also explaining more on enlightening us on section 217 of the Constitution that defines the role of the military, 217 of the Constitution. The Bible says, shall we continue to live in sin so that grace may abound? It says, God forbid. Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, enough is enough. We come here and we speak grammar and we talk about security architecture, all to no avail. And these people, they don't take us serious. They don't do anything about it. We go back to our various constituencies. All we see is pile of dead bodies. Every day, I receive damning calls every day from my constituents about constant killings. We cannot continue to live in sin and hope on grace. We cannot do that. And finally, Mr. Speaker, I will urge this honorable house that for them to take us serious, there's a concept called vicarious liability. An employee is liable. An employer is liable for the default of his employees. If the employers don't know what to do and don't know how to handle this thing, let us do the needful. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Ifeanyi. Honorable Kuye.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My name remains Ademoni Aliukuye. I represent the good people of Shomolu Federal Constituency. I'm from Lagos State. Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, I rise to lend my support and my voice to the motion brought by my friend, Honorable Sada, to support it, for it is timely, it is needed, it is most crucial to discuss at this critical time. Mr. Speaker, I want to appreciate you for referring to section 217 of the Constitution that spells out the functions of the armed forces. But it is equally important for us to look at section 219 that says it shall be the responsibility of the National Assembly to give effect to that section 217. The question here is that are we giving sufficient effect? Section 219, are we giving sufficient effect to that section 217? Even the section, the power of the president under section 218 can only be exercised by the act of this National Assembly through section 219, sir. Therefore, it is important that this House invites the service chiefs to find out why the limited success at fighting insurgency. Because to say that they are not doing anything will be doing great disservice to the number of military men that have died in battlefield trying to fight this insurgency. But that they are not doing enough. To find out why they are not doing enough. Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, the little adage that I know of the Yoruba people, if you want to send a child to go and get something in the market, you must enable that child, either financially or otherwise. Now, when we pass a budget here,
to fund our armed forces. And the money is not released until sometime around October. Between January and October, what do you expect them to do? And the money you release in October, and you want them to end their budget by end of December, what are you telling them to do with that money? That kind of money will be pocketed. Therefore, we need to sit down with them and sit down with the executive too, particularly the Ministry of Finance, as to how the military is being funded. We need to know why there is failure of synergy between the different sections of the armed forces. Because, like Honorable Kazaure rightly mentioned, intelligence gathering is the responsibility of the DSS. How can a bunch of criminals numbering 200, 300 come inside a town, operate for hours, and no information? These people are not coming in one, they are not coming in two, they are coming in hundreds. And they operate successfully, using time and everything. In fact, some of them go into people's kitchen and begin to eat their food and rape. That doesn't take less than an hour or two. Therefore, sir, I want to support that the service chiefs be summoned. If they are tired, let us ask them to quit the stage and bring in fresh blood. I so support, sir. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Toby. Honorable Toby, please, you speak for everybody on that row. You have to move on. You speak for Honorable Larry Edu. You speak for, who else has their hand up? Everybody has their hand up. Where's Kalambari? So, Honorable Toby, well, yes, 1 minute. Because, 1 minute, so that we can round up. It's 3 o'clock.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Honorable colleagues. My name is Toby Okechukwu. I represent an area of Wajiriba Federal Constituency from Enugu State. Mr. Speaker,
I keep getting amendments. This is the one I just got now is amendment number 26. It's 26 amendment. We are not taking any amendments. We are going to put the question. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues. This motion on the need for the relevant security agencies to bring to an end the spate of obvious kidnappings, killings, armed banditry attacks across the country. Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, this is an existential fight for everybody in this country. And we have discussed the issue of security severally. Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, you will appreciate that the resolutions as requested here, the prayers, are comprehensive enough. We are going to deal with them as they come. But Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, if the Chief of Army Staff and the Chief of Air Staff are from areas occupied by insurgents, my expectation is that they should be able to help themselves. And if they are not able to help themselves, how can they help other Nigerians? Mr. Speaker, I have taken strategic and constructive notice of what Dan Duse said. I have also taken notice of what Kazaure said and what the Deputy Speaker said. Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, we have issues. As a young man in my secondary school, I was taking train from Enugu to Zaria. And when I get to Zaria, I'll use a bus to go to Funtua before I get to Dusuma, where I would spend my holidays.
Mr. Speaker, that was my adolescent activities. Mr. Speaker, at my age now, I cannot dream of doing that. That was when we had a country. Mr. Speaker, our situation is in jeopardy. If you take notice of this fact, Kazaura pointed out that how can the sovereign of a state, the governor of a state, so to say, the sovereign of that state, be negotiating with bandits with AK-47 on their neck? How? With AK-47, and you will be pictured. This is a situation of a failed state. Mr. Speaker, how can the district head in Katsina State be slaughtered? Mr. Speaker, you are talking about Dan Duse, who is a member of parliament, and who is a farmer. And that is the only occupation a politically exposed person, particularly public servants, are allowed to do. He cannot undertake that occupation. Mr. Speaker, the mover of this motion is Honorable Sada, my very good colleague. And what he has mentioned and what he has listed in these motions is that our people cannot undertake their farming activities. Mr. Speaker, what is there is that we want to have people in isolation, in ID camps, take the money and apply to ID camps instead of fighting and getting rid of this nonsense. How can we be preferring sharing money for whatever palliative or to ID camps instead of getting our people back to their houses? Mr. Speaker, we're under threat. As I'm talking to you, I had a call that there is kidnapping in Ishiagu. And during this isolation, people are being migrating from one place to the other. What is happening to the architecture, security architecture in this country? Mr. Speaker, this House has reached several resolutions. We have to now make sure that our leadership and members of parliament, they should be able to visit the theaters of war and discuss with our people. Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, there is enough time when they come to brief us. I thank you so much. I believe that these resolutions, these prayers should be carried. Thank you.
Thank you. It's only fair that we just conclude with the last column. Is Honorable Kalambari, please. Honorable Kalambari, take 1 minute from Igwe and then Larry Edun, who has suddenly appeared on this column. I thought you were here. We need to move on, please. 1 minute, everybody, please.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and my dear colleagues. I remain Honorable Ahmad Abdullah Kalambena Sodoran Kalambena, and I represent Kwari Wamako Federal Constituency of Sokoto State. Mr. Speaker, my dear colleagues, in this kind of situation, we have to tell ourselves the truth and nothing but the truth. Mr. Speaker, my dear colleagues, our duty here is to legislate and for the executive to act. Mr. Speaker, it is in this chamber that on several occasions this issue has been raised. And it is in this chamber that on several occasions a vote of no confidence was passed against these service chiefs as regards to insecurity that has to do with the country. But nothing was done. Mr. Speaker, it is also in this chamber that we have been calling for the resignation or the dismissal by the executive for the service chiefs. But this has been falling on deaf ears. If we can recall, Mr. Speaker, my dear colleagues, in Niger Republic, a similar situation happens sometimes whereby about 70 soldiers were slaughtered. And there was a call for the resignation or dismissal of the service chiefs there. The Chief of Army Staff in Niger Republic was dismissed, and since then, we have not had any issue that has to do with the killing of either the army or the other population that has to do in Niger Republic. So what I want to point here is that the executive must listen to us, and that as leaders, Mr. Speaker, you have to take it up to the executives so that something can be done, and to see that all what we have been saying here in this chamber was in effect. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, my dear colleagues.
Chinyere Igwe.
Mr. Speaker, my dear colleague, I am Chinyere Igwe. I represent Port Harcourt Federal Constituency of Rivers State. Mr. Speaker, the vehicle with which we rode to this place is the Constitution of Nigeria, 1999, as amended. That vehicle provided for the Parliament, albeit the House of Representatives. Mr. Speaker, that same vehicle, the Constitution of Nigeria, in Chapter 4, Fundamental Human Rights, specifically Section 34, provide for rights to life. Mr. Speaker, we are talking about the rights of human beings, the rights of our fellow Nigerians, not the rights of mosquito or chicken. Mr. Speaker, it beats me hollow the way with which our fellow human beings are murdered, slaughtered, as if we are in a genocide state. Mr. Speaker, this is nothing short of a Nazi state. But Mr. Speaker, that same constitution in chapter 34, section 2, provides that government, be it legislature, the executive, or judiciary, must protect the fundamental principles of state. Mr. Speaker, it means that the Parliament, seated here today, the legislature, have a duty. We are duty bound to ensure that we protect the lives of Nigerians, the lives of our fellow people. Mr. Speaker, relying on that, I wish to say that and support equivocally the motion that the service chiefs should be invited to this place. Mr. Speaker, we have a right to determine what happens to the service chiefs, relying on chapter 2, the fundamental principle of state principle. So, Mr. Speaker, act on that so that we shall stop this carnage of our fellow Nigerians and so move and so support. Thank you.
Okay, the last speaker, the Honorable Sada, will round up. I think he wants the right of reply. Honorable Larry, you have 30 seconds. 30. And I'm going to time it.
Mr. Speaker. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I remain Honorable Ejiola Rewaju, representing all the people of Abeokuta South Federal Constituency. I'm from Ogun State. Mr. Speaker, I will restrict myself to the 30 seconds. We are all living witnesses in this country. During Second Republic, the present President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria was a garrison commander, and there was an affront from Chad Republic, and he was instructed to face them on. At a point, the then President, late President Shehu Shagari, had to beg him that enough is enough, because he was almost running over Chad Republic. So why is it not making the same effort or instructing the present service chiefs to do the same? Mr. Speaker, another section of it is that where are the days of ECOMOG in this country? This same country, we had a situation whereby we sent our armed forces out to help another country. So what has been happening? So I want to beg the leadership of this House to please help us ask Mr. President to reenact what he did in the days when he was garrison commander on the present service chiefs. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Gary. 30 seconds.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm Honorable Gary Dumainwo, member representing Afiko North, Afiko South Federal Constituency. I'm from Ebonyi State. Mr. Speaker, my brief contribution is to say that nothing has gone wrong with the Nigerian army. It is still the same army we have always known. So I think we missed the point a little bit when we fail to look at the main issues. The spike in violence, the killings, are mere symptoms of much deeper problems. It's not by, our soldiers don't just want to be overrun or to be overwhelmed or not just up to the task. I think we have much deeper issues. The economic issues are generating a lot of unemployment, are generating a lot of problems. So these are some of the issues that have a direct nexus with the level of insecurity we are facing in this country. So it's good when we are talking about helping our military to also look at the deeper economic issues, those issues that actually generate these problems. Nigerians didn't just become an unruly group of people or people who want to kill or who like to kill. There are much deeper issues we must look at. The economic issues are debasing our values, are making it, people don't respect what they used to respect, sanctity of human life, or not spilling blood. When people are hopelessly, have found themselves in a very hopeless economic situation, they behave in ways that are unpredictable. So I think we should look at those issues that lead to some of the spike in violence we have seen.
Thank you. Chief Whip.
Honorable Speaker, honorable members, my name is Mohamed Tahir Munguno. I represent Martin Munguno, Ganza Federal Constituency of Borno State. I will have sponsored a similar motion today, but having seen the motion that was sponsored, I decided to put my own on hold so that I can contribute to this motion, highlighting what transpired in my constituency just 2 days ago. Mr. Speaker, honorable members, in one of the local government in my constituency, as rightly pointed out by the Deputy Chairman Defense, the people decided to defend themselves because I will not even say Boko Haram, but criminals masquerading as Boko Haram continuously extort money from them. They come and take their cows, they come and take their goat. So the village now met and decided to defend themselves. They armed themselves with bows, cutlasses, and whatever they can garner. So when the criminals came, they now engaged the criminals, killed about 5 of them, and then the rest escaped. These criminals went and mobilized themselves, strengthened themselves with sophisticated arms, came and wiped up the entire village. They killed about 30 people. The entire village was wiped out. So that is how precarious the situation is. Even citizens, when they decide to defend themselves, because of the fact that they are not armed with sophisticated weapons as these criminals are armed, at the end of the day, the criminals will come and kill them. That is how precarious the situation is. So the only solution that we'll adopt with a view to tackling this problem is political will at the highest level. When I say political will at the highest level, I will commend the Chadian example so that Nigeria can adopt it. If the president of Chad is a retired military man, will come out and lead the fight and completely root out Boko Haram in Chad completely. Some were killed and then some came and got safety in Nigerian territory. If Chadian president, who is a retired military man, will lead his military to fight Boko Haram and root them out of the country, our president too is a retired military man. He's a general. Let him come out and lead these people so that we can root out Boko Haram and other criminality in our land. That is my own suggestion.
Honorable Sada, please, 1 minute so that we only have, the leadership only has about 20 minutes to get to this meeting.
Yes, yes, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, let me thank the leadership and the fraternity of this House. I'm very grateful for supporting this motion. This motion is nationalistic. It has nothing to do with a section of a country. It is about the country. Mr. Speaker, a number of members have spoken about the community, the people to defend themselves. Mr. Speaker, if we allow that or we encourage that, it will result to a total anarchy. So we need to take attention. Mr. Speaker, a number of members have spoken about some governors have gone into negotiation with some of these bandits. These governors were completely helpless. That's why they had to do that. They were helpless. They were helpless. They were helpless. They were helpless. Mr. Speaker, it's not this banditry, this kidnapping is not about employment or unemployment. Most of these young people in this forest are employed. They're herders. They have thousands and thousands of herds of cattle. So they're not unemployed. It's about criminality. We know them. They are our brothers. They live with us. It is just having the political will to deal with this matter. Mr. Speaker, we cannot, members said we should not call these service chiefs to come to address us or let us hear them. At least let's hear them. So we should not throw the baby away with the bath water. Let's give them that opportunity to hear them. Mr. Speaker, it was preposterous for me to hear a member of this House putting excuses for people that are being paid by public money to defend this country, that they are doing well. Yes, we know they are doing well, but they have taken to choose to do what they are doing. And if they fail to do what they are doing, there is no way that we that have been elected, we cannot accuse them of not doing what they have taken by their own volition to do what they are doing. It is wrong for a member in this House to put excuses for our security officers for failing to do what they are doing. We know what they are doing.
No, Honorable Sada, it's not wrong. He expressed his own opinion. If he feels that what he said, if I remember correctly, and I think there were two members that said so, that is one thing to do something, is another thing not to have done enough. That we should commend them for the little that they've done and then encourage them to do more. I think that was the point. But your point is well taken.
Mr. Speaker, I'm sentimental for saying this because I have a friend, a relation, that he was standing. His 3 daughters were raped before him.
But you know where the problem is with that argument, Honorable Sada? We cannot on one hand say some chief executives were helpless, and on the other hand say service chiefs it's wrong to say that they have not. Everybody has their responsibility, and there should be, in fact, it should be, and I agree with you, it should be zero tolerance, no excuses for anybody.
Let me take your realignment, Mr. Speaker. I have withdrawn that statement. Mr. Speaker, we locked this country because of COVID-19. We can lock a section of this country to deal with this matter. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Sada, and once again, thank you for Honorable Sada for bringing this very important motion. Thank you very much, and those who worked on it as well, especially the Deputy Speaker and other members that worked on this motion. We've debated this motion now for well over 2 hours. We've been here for about 4.5 hours in these chambers, and we've debated 2 very, 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 very important issues. One, the issue of the rising issue of rape, and the issue of security. I think those are only 2 issues that we've debated on the floor today, and it was worth the day and the time and the effort. And it's now incumbent upon us and important for us, whatever takeaways, to put them in legislative form on the issue of rape and on the issue of security. We need to begin, and I can't remember who raised the point that, I think it was Honorable Kuye, that even Section 217 and the other sections that refer to the role of the armed forces, those roles that take them outside their traditional role has to be activated by acts of parliament. So I will implore on the security committees, police, navy, army, and the defense to quickly look into that and look at the act that deals with the army and see if there's anything like, if there's nothing like that, then let's look at how we can bring an act that will make their work easier. So thank you very much, honorable colleagues. I'll put the question on this motion. Those in support, please say aye. Those against, please say nay. Ayes have it. Gentlemen. Yeah, we have things on the other paper, but you know we have a very important 4 o'clock meeting. So we'll push. Third reading. Okay. We have third reading and we also have first reading, don't we? How long will this take? Go ahead. Let's do the third reading and then we'll take the first reading to Tuesday. Do the third reading of whatever we have. Where's the other paper? Third reading. Leader. Third reading, quickly.
No, just take third readings and go.
Quickly, third reading, leader, third reading.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker, my respected colleagues. Honorable Adodogwa is my name. Mr. Speaker, honorable members, I come from Kano State. I rise as directed by the Speaker of the Green Chamber of the House of the People of Nigeria, Right Honorable Femi Bajabiamila, to move that a bill for an act to repeal the Animal Diseases Control Act, Cap A17, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004, and enact the Animal Diseases Control Bill for the purpose of prevention, detection, control, and eradication of infectious and contagious transboundary and zoonotic animal diseases, the prevention of antimicrobial resistance through the control and regulation of the use and administration of veterinary biologics, veterinary drugs, and chemicals in animals and products, medicated animal feeds, as well as the sales and distribution of pet foods, veterinary medical devices, and other veterinary products, and for the enhancement of animal welfare and food safety and other matters connected therewith. HB 428 be read the third time.
Thank you. Minority Leader, can you please second?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I remain Honorable Ndudi Godwin Elvelu, and I represent the good people of Anochos in the federal constituency. I'm from Delta State. I rise to second the motion moved by the House Leader. I so second.
Those in favor of the motion, please say aye. Those against, please say nay. The ayes have it. Okay. Yes, Clark. Long title, please.
Honorable Speaker, honorable members, a bill for now to repeal the Animal Disease Control Act, Chapter A17, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004, and then the Animal Disease Control Bill for the purpose of prevention, detection, control, and eradication of infectious and contagious transboundary and zoonotic animal diseases, the prevention of antimicrobial resistance through the control and regulation of the use and administration of veterinary biologics, veterinary drugs, and chemicals in animals, animal products, and medicated animal feeds, as well as the sales and distribution of pet foods, veterinary medical devices, and other veterinary products, and for the enhancement of animal welfare and food safety, and other matters connected therewith. Third reading.
Bill read third time and passed. Leader. I want you to bring your experience to bear in this house and read the 2, 3, 4 together. I want to see how you want to do that to save time instead of going through them one by one. Third reading, second, third, and fourth items.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. And indeed, reading from the body language of the Speaker and the body language of my respected colleagues, I, Honorable Adodogwa, the leader of this House, rise to move that the bill number 2, 3, 4, as stated on the order paper, be read the third time. I so move.
Honestly, nothing beats experience. Honorable Mela, I want to see how you second that. If you don't second properly, that resignation that you threatened us with.
Yes, sir. Your Excellency, Mr. Speaker, distinguished colleagues, Victor Melat Anzaria, member representing Balanga Plenary Federal Constituency, I rise to second that the Bill 2, 3, 4 be read the third time.
Bill 2, Bill 2, Bill 3, Bill 4. Do we have bills by that name? There's nothing like Bill 2. What's items 2, 3, 4 on the other paper?
Thank you for the guidance, Mr. Speaker. I rise to second the motion that item 2, 3, 4, as itemized in the order paper, be read the third time.
You were actually right first time. I'll just play with you, don't worry. Those in favor, please say aye. Those against, please say nay. Ayes have it. Clerk, long title. I want to know how you want to do this, and I want you to do the 3 at the same time.
Honorable Speaker, honorable members, a bill for now to repeal the National Commission for Refugees Act, Chapter N21, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004, and now the National Commission for Refugees, migrants and international.
Clerk, I don't want you to read them individually. I want us to pass for third reading, item 2, 3, and 4. How do you intend to do that? Okay, go ahead. Since it's the long title that you're supposed to be reading.
For the management, abolition, return, integration, and resettlement of refugees, migrants, and victims of displacement, and for related matters. Third reading. The bill for allowed to repeal the Nigerian Film Corporation Act, Chapter N109, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004, and now the Nigerian Film Commission Act 2020 to regulate and develop the film industry in Nigeria and for related matters. Third reading. The bill for allowed to amend the Nigerian Maritime Administration and Safety Agency Act number 17, 2017 to allocate 1% of the maritime funds to the fund established under Section 6 of the Maritime Operation Coordinating Board Act and for related matters. Third reading.
Well done, clerk. All 3 bills read and passed the third time. Leader, adjournment.
Right Honorable Speaker, my respected colleagues, members of this great House, while I thank you on behalf of the leadership for the patience and for the very fruitful discussions and deliberations of today, I rise to move as directed by the Speaker that this House do adjourn till Tuesday next week, 11 a.m. I so move, Your Excellency.
Honorable leaders, please, it's very important we should be settled by 10 minutes to 4 because it will take a little while to... those in favor of the adjournment, please say aye. Those against, please say nay. The ayes. Those in favor, please say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it.